I scheduled the, okay, I'm gonna get rid of some of these ridiculous distractions because I have been multitasking for the last couple hours. We have a big charity event tomorrow. It is for recovering from religion. That's why the theme tonight. However, frankly, if you want to call and argue with me about anything, any public position you know I've taken, I don't give a fuck. I will argue with anybody about anything. That's sort of what we do here. That's not true. Not about anything, but most things are on the table. You know, I'm not going to especially sit there and go defend positions that aren't really mine to defend, but I mean, there's actually plenty of things that aren't on the table, and yet I'm just going to say it's all on the table. Anybody who wants to call in, that number 720-619-2288, 720-619-2288. Welcome. I'm Jimmy Snow. This is Cus I Wanna, the sort of show that comes on without scheduling or warning most often, and the type of show that I go, you know what, I should do an episode of Cus I Wanna tonight to get us started on this charity event that we've got going on tomorrow. Let's see if we can't hit some impressive, neat number tonight doing that while taking calls about whatever fucking topic y'all want to take calls on. We can literally do it all, but also stopping in and talking about why an organization like Recovering from Religion is so important, because it is the case that it is very traumatic to lose your religion, even though it is worth it, which is not necessarily something that's not nuance that a lot of people are willing to engage in. In fact, I have absolutely interacted with people who just the establishment of the idea that something could be traumatic, just saying it's traumatic to lose your religion, is enough for some people to go, see, so that means it's a bad idea to lose your religion. And as many of us, maybe most of us, probably not all, but almost certainly most of us, to the point that it rounds up to all who have left religion, will tell you that actually it is in fact the case. A tremendous thing. I moved that the wrong way. I'm doing things last minute because some stuff happened. It is the case that it is worth it to go through a trauma like that. And there are lots of things in the world that are traumas that are either necessary traumas or, I mean, just think of the easiest example is, very, very cool. Thank you to Anonymous who donated $5. Will somebody do me a favor? So the way I think everything should work right now is if you try to do a super chat, it will just go to a donation. And this one that is the $5 donation didn't have a chat on it, but I need to see whether or not we will be able to, whether the system that we usually use to send super chats off will work. Anyway, what was I talking about before that? Yeah, it is extremely worth it. So the obvious example of something which is traumatic and ultimately worth it for a lot of people is childbirth, is giving birth to a child. Literally a mentally, emotionally, and physically traumatic event, and yet one that many people decide to do multiple times. There are lots of things which are traumatic that are worth it. There are lots of things that are that have that negative, but it doesn't mean that because it's worth it, because it's something that you would choose to undertake, that society shouldn't have resources for those people. So when we look at something like childbirth, and I mean really look at childbirth, we have a ton of resources for people who give birth, who undertake that. Now, we don't have enough, and we don't necessarily have them in the right places, and certainly people of means are going to have more resources than others, but just fundamentally in the United States, for example, the fact that you get significant tax breaks, that the government actually tries to incentivize to say, we want you to undertake that, it's one of them situations. So far, I am only seeing donations come in, but I'm not seeing text connected to them. Is there anybody who would like to, has sent one of these that can tell me what their experience of sending a donation is so far, if they had tried to put chats on? Yeah. Let me figure that out. Because everything that is donated tonight, 100%, unlike usual, if you super chat usually, some percentage goes to and we do have, by the way, there are lines open. There's I think one call waiting right now, but again, I am more than, well, let's debate any topic, argue any topic. Arguments are what our bread and butter is. Tonight, anything that you put in through the super chat way, through the donate button, will go directly to RFR. So that's tonight, and then that's the whole event tomorrow. The charity event itself tomorrow is also that. I'm just trying to figure out what the experience of the user is, because that may affect things with production, which is, it's good we did this. I a couple hours ago decided to do this and then went, there's these little things I could go and check on just to make sure that tomorrow runs as smoothly as possible. And every single one of those things that I thought I should check on probably won't be a problem ended up being a problem. And I have been absolutely like adrenaline all the way up to 150, trying to solve all of these issues and then go, okay, I got to take a break from solving these issues and go do this work right now. And it's weird because I'm seeing the same thing y'all are seeing, that super chatting doesn't appear itself to be an option, only donating. And I don't think, well, heck, we got to figure this thing out. We got to figure this shit out. Anyway, well, I'll get a call on here, but it would be amazing. So look, right now, even as we're figuring it out, as we don't have chats up, Recovering from Religion is an incredible resource. It's one that I wish it existed or that I had known about when I was going through stuff. And it's basically one of the main things they do is they have a 24/7 chat line and call line that you can come and speak to trained volunteers who are vetted volunteers who can help direct you and help you figure out your path and your plan for recovering from religion, as well as the website. It can connect you to a ton of resources and videos specific to whatever religion you are leaving from. Obviously, if it's an obscure like church that's in the basement of your neighbor's house, they're probably not going to have a video exposing that specific one, but they have tons of videos, as well as a network of therapists that they can connect you to that are also well vetted to take care of people who are leaving religion. Because if that is not a person's specialty, any therapist can't just necessarily do that. In fact, there are many therapists who are themselves religious who don't understand the need for that. So they may want to go in and try and, you can still get some good help out of like, I'm in therapy for being slut shamed or these things that are a part of it. But that collective, dare I almost say holistic attack. No, I don't dare say that because that phrase is so terrible. But on a person that is religious trauma, all in all, it's just good. It's a good thing. And a tremendous. So if you can donate any amount, what would be amazing is we would like to get to $25,000 tomorrow. The event tomorrow is fucking incredible. Okay. Let me tell you about the event tomorrow. Let me see if I can rattle this off the top of my head, because I think I will. At 3:00, we're going to start the stream. That stream is just going, the first hour will just be videos from creators who have sent in some videos that I'll be sharing, basically gathering people up. Then at 4:00, and this is at Central Time. So let me do this in Eastern Time, since most people are used to adjusting Eastern Time. At 5:00 Eastern Time, that's 2:00 Pacific. 5, 4, 3, 2. There you go. Starting at Eastern Time. Dave Warnock of Dying Out Loud will be joined by Glenda Jordan, who will be putting the finishing touches on a painting that we're actually going to be doing a giveaway of. It is this amazing painting. I should have had it ready to show you. It's a Carl Sagan themed painting. Glenda is this incredible artist, and they'll be taking calls for that hour. They'll be talking about stuff after they are done. At 6:00 Eastern Time, Owen Morgan and Seth Andrews, which is a duo I don't know if I've ever seen together before. I think they've worked together independent, but is a duo that just seems so obviously cool. Owen Morgan of Telltale, Seth Andrews. Also, two very iconic voices. And by voices, I don't mean just in the community. I mean their physical voices. The sounds their throat cords make. Iconic. Absolutely iconic. Both of them have very distinguishable. It's funny because like Seth Andrews has that perfect radio voice. Owen's voice is unique, and it's just this like, it's just a comforting voice to hear. Does that make sense? He has such a specific. Seth's voice is like a radio voice, but I can compare it to other radio voices. And Owen has just this presence that's so unique to him that Anyway, two iconic physical voices together. That's going to be an incredible hour. Glenda's in chat. We're going to give Glenda a wrench. Then at 7 o'clock Eastern time, 7654. Those are all the time zones. You're all welcome. I'm very inclusive on this channel, including of terrible, stupid time zones. Add as moderator. Glenda gets a wrench. Everyone gets a wrench, except everyone doesn't get a wrench. At 7 o'clock, I'm still trying to see if I can remember this correctly. I think that's my slot. I will be returning, and I'm sure everybody will pick then to go get dinner, but I will be returning with the YouTuber, the iconic, the man, the myth, the legend, Jesus Christ. That's not a joke. If you all are familiar with SoCal Jesus, Fiverr Jesus, PewDiePie's Jesus, Jesus from Cameo, the Jesus Christ, the man, the myth, the legend, will be joining me. We'll be doing an hour there, and I'm sure we'll be giving some blessings in response to many of these donations. Boy, if I cannot figure out a way to get donations with chats, I got cookies. Would you let me know? Because I realize that you actually have some insight on this with other charities that you have moderated streams for. If you'll just let me know on Discord, are they able to take chat donations as well? Or is it just, maybe I need to enable something. Let me have a look here. Let me have a look. Bum-ba-da-bum-ba-da-bum-ba-da-bum. Live chat replay, live reactions, Soma, redirect trailer details. I don't see anything that I could enable to make this a thing. So it might have been something that needed to be done in advance. Is it just that is it impossible to send donations and chats to a charity stream? Yeah, I'll give Ike Gilder a wrench. Is that possible? Probable, plausible. It's a thing I need to know. I'll be there with Jesus. Then at 8 o'clock, 8765. I think I have this right. I think I have the order right. Dillahunty will be hosting Dr. Daryl Ray, who is the founder and director of RFR, the charity at hand. Also an amazing duo, followed by at 8 o'clock. Did I already say 8 o'clock? 8765, I think I did. So 9 o'clock Eastern, 9876, will be Shannon Q and Apologia, the power couple, the duo. And then the way we are ending this thing, the way we are ending it, y'all, the unholy trinity is returning, as has not happened since the last time it happened. But it's actually been a while. That phrase, I don't know what the date is, but the three together taking questions. If we can figure out this donation thing, I had a plan, and we're going to have to change it, it looks like, if we can't, having donations with chats. But taking questions, chatting together, being the wholesome, awesome guys they are. Seth Andrews, Aron Ra, Matt Dillahunty together, the three of them together on a virtual stage, if you will. It's going to be fucking phenomenal, incredible, tremendous, beautiful, and slightly erotic, if you ask me. It will be all of those things. Let me see if I got that message on. Let me head over to Discord, and then I'll start taking calls here. YouTube does not take a cut. In fact, YouTube will cover every transaction fee also. YouTube will lose money on this. So when it comes to super chats, when you send us super chats, which by the way, we still need usually on our regular shows, it's our bread and butter. It's how we pay the bills around here. But YouTube takes like a whopping 35% or something like that. It's a hefty number. If you send a $5 donation using the donate button, the donate link, then look at that when it's in a donation. Fuck. Well, that's annoying. Okay, so I got to figure out a whole new plan for that. For the donation things tomorrow, for how we're going to direct that very final thing. Glad to find all of this out tonight. It's better than finding out tomorrow on the fly. Donations can't be chats, but please do continue to donate. Let's say you sent $5 or $1. For real. if you could skip a Starbucks and give a Starbucks to this stream or the other stream, if you hit that donate link, when you hit that donate link, you are going to give an entire $5 to RFR. Again, an incredibly important organization. And the fees that would usually come out, the like 5 cents per transaction plus 1% or whatever Visa is charging these days or whatever, the Apple fees, all of that is covered by it. And I just want to say this. I hope that incentivizes you more, because that means it's fucking YouTube a little. It is taking money away from them. And with all of the things surrounding creator compensation and stuff that seem ridiculous, like the 35% super chats, I want to give this money directly with a message, and YouTube should take 35% because they changed the color of the live chat when all this other stuff is going on. I hope that will, for those of you who aren't sure if you want to donate, but you are incentivized by forcing a capitalist entity to do something for the greater good, a capitalist behemoth to do something for the greater good. I hope some of you will be incentivized to do it on that basis. I think that would be tremendous. We're going to jump on to calls here. Let me see. Yeah, none of my shortcuts work. So also in the things leading up to the show, I found out that something has happened. Don't know what, don't know when, but the presets upon which this show is built, all on the production end, have disappeared from my computer. They were deleted, it would seem. Now, luckily, we have copies of it, and this show is actually built right on top of Skeptalk, so I just had to basically load up Skeptalk and change a bunch of stuff. However, all my shortcuts to put banners on, I got to do it all manually. I know! I really do sacrifice for all of you. Let's just try a call here real quick and talk to Benjamin in Texas. Benjamin, you are on the line with Jimmy Snow. Isn't that such a privilege? How you doing, Benjamin?
Hi, yes. It is a flippin' honor to speak with you, Jimmy.
The honor is all yours. Go ahead, Benjamin. I'm just kidding. You're fine. What did you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to personally thank you for being one of the people helpful in my deconversion process.
Cool.
Wanting to be more reasonable and such. Yeah. And your content is freaking awesome in exposing the, dare say, toxic nature of religion that we need to recover from.
I appreciate that very much. However, I very much hate staying focused on me too long. So now that we've got that out of the way, what did you want? What topic do you want to hit up?
My question is that the way Christian apologetics is done in the modern day and age doesn't really seem to spark me with confidence for the opposing position, that is. And I'd like to know what your thoughts on it are. Like, say, William Lane Craig's lowering the bar for evidence and such, that stunt that happened, as well as Frank Turek's infamous quote of, like, say, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So all it is these are quippy lines that people who are believers are desperately trying to figure out a way to satisfy things that basically they want a response to things that they're hearing a lot, but they don't need it to be a deep response. They just need it to be enough that they can quickly and easily dismiss it, that they can go and say, fine. So this, for example, like the examples you've given here, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist.
Yeah.
And then they completely pretend, as do the people participating, that they are using the word faith in any reasonable way that anyone would recognize from church. When you're actually in church and you're hearing about faith, you're hearing stories of, here's the thing that challenged my faith. Here's the thing that made me go, ooh, what? And here is the way that I was able to, without any actually good information, let go of that anxiety, let go of that apprehension. Faith in church is so magical, and they pretend it isn't, as though I wasn't there, or any of us, as though we weren't there, as though we never went to church and fucking saw it for ourselves. As though we didn't know that is this idea of deep feelings, that I'm getting the still small voice, the burning in the bosom, whatever phrase they use for everybody, that it's this internal thing that just tells you something, a sort of but a consciousness that is supposed to be separate from your own consciousness, that gives you a little push, that gives you a little hint, that gives you the answers to something. And then obviously whenever it works, that was the God, that was the Holy Spirit. And when it doesn't, well, God works in mysterious ways. Or when it doesn't, oh, his answer must have been no that time. There's literally no version. If you decide that when things work, that's God, and when it doesn't, that's man, there's no way to prove that true or not. It's unfalsifiable. And so when you're coming back to these stupid things that people say, I mean, I just think it is wild that anybody thinks that the moral argument has depth. And again, right now I'm talking to an atheist and a person who's not sympathetic to that side. Anybody who is listening, who wants to argue on behalf of any of those arguments, call and do it, because the moral argument is so fucking stupid to me. The idea we wouldn't have morality without God. The purpose argument, that there's no real purpose unless there is a God, unless there's an external purpose. And then things like the Kalam, which William Lane Craig is very popular for, have premises that haven't been demonstrated, but even if they were, don't get you to Christianity. And the gap between deism and Christianity should be considered an immeasurable chasm that one simply could never traverse because it would be so impossible and so hostile. And yet, this is my proof that Christian apologetics has become absolute shit on the bottom of your ass that you missed when you were cleaning yourself up. It is considered a proof of Christianity to get to a proof of to accept a proof of deism. If you get to deism, the jump to Christianity would somehow just follow as logical, which is objectively stupid. Such an insane jump to make without again, the distance from there is no God to a deist God is also large. However, these word arguments that people fall for, it is no surprise that somebody who falls for such shallow word arguments as an establishment of an existence of God, that they can then jump the much larger chasm between deism to the Christian God. Because the deism, I can't disprove a thing about the deistic God. I just don't have a reason to believe in it. If you can say that the God of the Bible is the Christian God, therefore disproving the Bible or debunking the Bible or discrediting the Bible, in equal parts discredits, debunks, or disproves the Christian God, then the Christian God is kind of easily debunkable. So anyway, that's a lot of rant. You're welcome.
That was a pretty good rant.
Thank you.
That was an awesome rant.
It's true. You're all blessed to know me. Just kidding. I don't know why I feel like making those jokes today.
The one argument that irritates me the most is the moral argument, especially since at the very least, atheists have a very small number of the prison population and the criminal population in general compared to that of believers. But that's not saying believers are all evil. No. But it does demonstrate...
They are all evil. I'm just kidding. Kind of. There's an evil... I do think there's an inherent evil to all religious belief that is faith-based. If you could have non-faith-based religious belief, I would be open to that. However, I would describe, according to my morals and values at least, and the ones I would advocate for, which is humanism, that any faith-based religion, any faith-based practice in its actual religious form, the word faith, has an inherent, maybe minimal, many things, and I'm not saying that that I don't do things that are at least that level of evil. I hope I don't, but any faith-based thing that there is an inherent evil because it is a sort of method of self-deception and deception of others. Foundationally, if faith is your foundation, it says, I don't need to engage critical thinking to justify a belief. And if you don't need to, if you are saying that foundation is okay for me, how do you say that foundation isn't okay for Boko Haram or Westboro Baptist Church? How do you go and say that foundation is a fine starting point for one versus the other? Because harm, usually people will go with the harm issue. Well, it doesn't cause harm if I believe in astrology. Does it not cause harm? First of all, it definitely does. But second of all, when is truth and harm aren't related? Those have nothing to do with each other. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you again.
Yeah, but I was saying on the notion of atheists in the prison population, of course that number has a lot of things to it. it does demonstrate that you don't exactly need God to be a good person. I mean, I'm certainly a whole lot better than I was as a Christian child. I'm a whole lot more charitable than I ever was.
Benjamin, I'm gonna tell you something that might be hard to hear because I'm about to criticize you, and so I want you to know that it's done with love.
Oh yeah, sure. Go
Never,
ahead.
ever make the argument that prison population demographics represent who is and isn't a good person, because prison is also not a measure of good and bad people. Are there bad people in prison? Yes. Are there bad people not in prison who deserve to be? Much more, yes. So whether or not you could even say that an atheist being aware of certain things or whatever, maybe that there is a correlation to why an atheist is more likely to avoid prison. But also remember that especially in the recent centuries or recent decades, white people are more likely to be atheist and less likely to be in prison. And it's not because they're not religious. So if the black population is the main population in prison in the United States, and the black population separate from that in a non-correlated thing are more religious than other populations, to make an argument that the measure of how many atheists there are in prison versus non-atheists is actually a racist argument. And Benjamin, I'm not saying you're a racist. I'm saying it's probably not something you've considered. And now I think as a skeptic and an atheist, and it sounds like you're sort of newer to the world, that you're going to take that note and go, oh yeah, that is a fucked up thing to say, and I'm never going to say it ever again.
Huh. Some nice food for thought. I mean, I said I knew that there was some caveats, but I never thought of like that. I was like, I wasn't trying to be malicious or anything.
No, for sure. I knew you weren't. I knew you weren't.
All right.
It's so easy to go, okay, here's a statistic I see. More Christians are in prison than atheists. As I'm thinking of things that are, who are good people, who are evil people, you live in a society where we pretend evil people go to prison and good people stay out of prison. When in reality, some good people go to prison, and more than that, tons of evil people stay out of prison. And the number one reason a person goes to prison isn't because they're evil in America, it's because they're black. That's the number one reason. Because as far as the number of crimes that are committed out there, they've already studied this like crazy. People of different races are committing crimes themselves at roughly the same rates. And the number one indicator of crime is poverty, not race. And so again, if you're going to go with the people who are in prison aren't on a basis of whether they were raised Christian or not, aren't on a basis of, it is more likely you're going to be in prison if you grew up impoverished or if you are black in America, both of those things. It has nothing to do with religious status. And again, this is for your information. I understand why those statistics. And by the way, I probably cited similar statistics at some point in the last decade or so and went, well, if atheists are so evil, how come there's so many fewer of us? And when it also turns out it's beneficial to pretend to be religious if you're not in prison. Did you know that, Benjamin?
Yeah, I was aware of that because I know that number isn't exactly that. Yeah. But I just went with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people pretend to be Christian to satisfy parole boards. So if people are going around asking prisoners, are you Christian or not? And you know, my ability to get out of here sooner depends. If anything, I would only point to the prison system to prove that there is still violations of church and state, but then prison is just a violation of constitutional ideas. Now, some of those are justified, right? Like it's a constitutional violation to contain somebody, to imprison somebody generally. And we say, if you've done this wrong, you should be able to. However, there are other institutions and other rights that we are definitely taking away that are existing and rights that aren't existing in prison that are beyond fucking unreasonable. Slavery exists in America because of the prison system. And America has made sure to make it mostly populated by black people still. So you could even still say black slavery in America definitely still exists because the prison system here is so fucking abusive. So yeah, basically just wanting to be my lovely leftist self and say, I get it, Benjamin. And I think there are other arguments people could make. I think that one could easily argue for that secular humanism is superior, not just to specific religious traditions. I have yet to hear a philosophy that there's not a better one out there. I mean, even these new ones that are like humanism plus veganism equals sentientism, they're still foundationally humanist. And so they could be that their moral system. I'm not saying that sentiists aren't more moral than, I just haven't been convinced yet. But at minimum, humanist foundations are just the superior moral systems. And if anybody out there is listening and goes, I don't agree, call me, you fucking coward. Stop just adding me on Twitter. Stop just because I'm leaving Twitter. July 1st, my Twitter's gone. I'm done with that fucking place. Ever since they've announced that it's an official Twitter policy, that the word cis is a slur, that cisgender is a slur, as opposed to the idea of if you weaponize it and you're attaching it to insults, which I still wouldn't do this with the word cis, just like I wouldn't do it with the word straight. Meanwhile, they're calling this a slur. Anytime I respond to anybody, like Matt Walsh made a post about the history of these terms and who they came from, and I brought up the history of Christianity, and I've got a little rainbow ring around me. I think I got called a pedophile by half a dozen people within an hour. But that's acceptable. I, as a queer man, you can call a pedophile, but don't you dare call me cisgender when that's exactly what the fuck I am, and these are scientific, legal, and medical terms. Don't you dare fucking use those terms. How dare you, piece of shit.
Yeah, not a fan of Matt Walsh either.
Yeah, he sucks. Anything else before I let you go?
Well,
something to think about?
Well, I'm just a youngin' trying to master the power of reason and still trying to form better and logical arguments against the people that will disagree with me more likely than so.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Benjamin,
I apologize for that statement back there. I wasn't trying to. Don't
apologize, because you are demonstrating that you are trying to learn. You're doing the right thing. Do not fall for the terrible purity checking that is so pervasive. And by the way, I'm not just shitting on the right now. This is across the board. You are trying to learn and be better, making mistakes along the way that are understandable, that everyone makes. We should not have this whole fucking thing of we have to apologize for everything we ever fucking did wrong. Apologies mean fucking nothing at this point, especially because they're so goddamn performative. Everything is, oh, you did this wrong, therefore now it's time, go ahead. And if you don't adequately prostrate yourself and make me really convinced that this is authentic, that's going to start a whole new thing. And you're going to have to apologize for the apology. Fuck all of that, Benjamin. Keep in a place where you are trying to learn, where you are trying to get better, and you're doing what's right. And so in the future, when you hit it, I guarantee you, because of our conversation today, Benjamin, you're going to hear statistics in the future and go, I know that in the past I heard stuff like this and it seemed such like an obvious correlation, and there was an element I didn't realize that I was missing, and now I'm going to go investigate at a different level than I did before because I don't want to ever miss something like that again. And that is ultimately way fucking better than the rest of this shit.
Right. I'm still trying to level up my ability of reason and such, because that's what I like.
Good, Ben. Good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, again, I'm glad you called, because other people will have made the same jump, the same conclusion. And by the way, when I started as a YouTuber, so this would have been 2018, I think, is when I burst forth onto the scene, because I think it was 5 years this last on my personal channel, and I think the line hit 3 years this year. Excuse me, I'm gonna little burp, little gas buildup. When I started, I had such a misconception, not of religious people, of atheists. And the disillusionment that I've gone through in the last 5 years of recognizing being an atheist means nothing. Being an atheist is an answer to one question, and it's not even an affirmative answer. It's not yes or no. It's I'm not convinced, or I don't believe, or I lack belief. It is such a meaningless term that is stigmatized, so we have to do stuff with it. But the disillusionment I've had in the last few years of the atheist community, quote unquote, don't focus too hard on this atheist versus Christianity, because you're going to keep having moments where you go, holy fucking shit, this group of atheist people over here are terrible and loud and people are mistaking them for representing us. It's if you have to do a versus, put humanism against anything else. Anything else will always lose.
Right, and that's why I'm more so pushing secular humanism, where I care about everyone nonetheless, because we're all human at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we should be empathetic and loving for that very reason. The whole idea of treating people the way we'd want to be treated is an easy throwaway line, but it literally, to me, it is such, my personal philosophy is there, but for the grace of circumstance, go I. Every single person that you think is repulsive, there is a set of circumstances where you are that person. And that's all you have to change are the circumstances. And you are that person. There might be a few exceptions to that rule. Like it might be that you're not going to be, well, you could call these circumstances too, but maybe you're not going to be Ed Kemper without a brain injury, that specific extreme thing to the point that you have a brain injury that induces psychopathy. Maybe you're not going to eat people. But generally there, but for the grace of circumstance, go I. And a lot of people I've, especially with friends telling them I believe this, have been very, YouTubers that all of you know have been like, you really think that you could change just like my upbringing and I would be as evil a person as so-and-so? And it's revealing because there's a lot of people who think that they were destined, that there's something inherent about the way they turned out. And while there's a lot of things that are inherent about the way you turned out, again, there but for the grace of circumstance go I. Everybody is capable of being everybody else.
Right. But
chew on that, Benjamin.
That's all I want.
Cool.
But that's all I wanted to say. Again, I love your videos.
Thank you.
I like the stuff you do, and I'm going to continue being a better person and promoting humanist values.
And skepticism.
And that too. We
Awesome.
all need that.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Right. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
What a good first call. What a grand first call. And on to our next, we have a theist queuing up who wants to talk about the theme of the night. We have Sam in Texas, prefers not to give pronouns. It's always a bit of a red flag to me because I really feel like it's a very minor question, Sam, but we'll go with it. The live chat, I suppose my instructions to the live chat are to either use Sam's names or neutral pronouns like they and them, as you are all talking about them, as we have hundreds of people who will need to refer to Sam in the third person. But Sam, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow. How you doing?
Yeah, like you're talking about the theme of the night.
Yeah.
You know, I'm somebody else who was, raised in church. As a matter of fact, by the time I was 7 years old, I said, hey, I want to make sure I want to be right with the Creator. I want to be right with God. And, I said, I believe in Jesus. I believe what he says. I believe in the love. By the time I was 8, I was baptized. And, but anyway, to make a long story short, your theme of the night of being so traumatized, I'm like, the definition of traumatized is like being deeply distressing or just having a disturbing experience. And I'm just like, what church did you go to? Or what happened to you? What's the matter with you, Jimmy? I mean, I'm like, I didn't have the same type of experience. I enjoyed, friendship and camping and love. And I mean, as I got older, I go to the, I see what's out there. I've been to the movies. I watch Netflix. I do this. I do that. I'm like, I didn't miss nothing. I'm like, what was so traumatizing for you? I mean, were you like abused? Did you get hit? Or, I mean,
I just love, I love Sam. I love callers like you because it's so useful to demonstrate to people that a simple phrase, people are going to jump to just tremendous conclusions. And it seems like, Sam, that you think that the title of tonight, religion is traumatic, or whatever, however I have it worded, but so is leaving it, is specifically me saying, I was very traumatized by leaving religion and I want to talk about it, and that it's not as a generality. And maybe that, and so Sam, we're going to engage the question. As far as my personal stuff goes, I think the things which I would call traumatic about leaving religion, universal, that they are the things which are traumatic about many, if not most people's experience of losing religion. And you might have missed the top of the show, so it's totally fine. It does not mean some world-ending terrible thing that makes it not worth that has happened. In fact, we often consent to trauma to heal. All of medicine, or most, you could say, is consenting to trauma to heal. It's when you are introducing foreign bodies that are going to attack things that include your illness, you are undergoing a trauma in the hopes that you can remove the greater trauma and the greater toxicity or the greater negative thing in your life. I am curious though, because Sam, you're talking about how you haven't missed out on anything. I show you here as a theist still. So are you saying that as a Christian in the past and a Christian now, or have you lost your Christianity?
I've never lost my Christianity for the simple reason why Jesus Christ says, if you deny me before man, I will deny you before my Father in heaven.
Great, yes.
And even though I would go to parties when I was in high school.
Sam, I just needed the answer to that question. That's all. Because I wanted to get a sense of when you called in, it was this sort of idea of like, you've escaped this without any trauma, which, by the way, I don't actually think you're qualified to assess. But most people can't identify trauma for themselves until well after, and especially not when they are within a system. Now, I don't know which version of Christian you are. I think there are very much less abusive forms of Christianity than other forms of Christianity. However, whether or not your opinion is, it's sort of like the people who say like, why are you so against spanking kids? I was spanked and I turned out fine. And then you do some digging and it turns out none of these fuckers turned out fine. They're all fucked up. And some of them specifically because of being hit as a kid. So Sam, would you like to know what I'm describing as traumatic about leaving religion? Or
before you do, let me just throw this out there. I know not everyone's perfect, okay, especially when you go to the church. I mean, you got all types of personalities sometimes. Sometimes people don't even believe, and they're at church themselves. You know, their purpose there is to try to make others not believe in a roundabout way, so to speak. But the reason why I say that is I just dismiss people like that. You know, I don't fall into the, you know, I hate you for telling me, you know, to do this, to do that. I just dismiss people. You know, that's why. I don't know why it's more. Why it came easier for me to.
Sam, let's just engage this as though what you're saying is true, because 9 times out of 10 people who say like, I dealt with depression and then one day just decided to get over it, they're usually fucking liars. But let's just assume you're not lying. Good. Count that as a blessing. Count it as a privilege. Count that as a thing of when people, but again, you have this idea that we're talking about losing our religion because some individual specifically offended us. This is a Christian farce. It's one you all love to go like, oh, well, the reason they turned their back on God was personal problems. It's not true. Are there going to be some people who left church for that? Sure. Are there going to be some people who left church for that, still believed, and then stopped believing for other reasons and yet will be tied to it? Also, sure. The reason I left religion, first Mormonism, then Christianity, was because neither of them are true. And in trying to establish the truth of either of them, it became impossible to continue to live a life pretending as though we should operate like these things are true. We should operate as though thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years of people have come along, and I happen to be born in the right place in the right time to get that special truth that's the secret of the universe, and everybody else doesn't, and that makes the guy who's giving me the secrets very upset. So they're all going to be locked away in some form. Some forms include torture, or some forms include just sort of isolation, but they're all going to be punished for not being as lucky as me to be born at the right time and intercepted by the right people who had that correct version of the correct truth. It's a ridiculous concept. So now that I've disabused you of the most recent notion, would you like to know what the trauma is we are referring to?
Sure. Let me just state for you right now, though. Do you know who even invented the word truth?
Wouldn't matter.
Jesus Christ
Yes.
invented
Okay.
the word truth.
Jesus Christ
If there was
invented
no
the word
Jesus,
truth.
there would be no
Yeah.
word truth.
Oh, right.
Do you
The
understand
the English word truth was invented by Jesus Christ. Sam, you now just sound like a troll, like somebody who's coming in pretending to be a Christian.
I'm telling you where
and
truth
saying,
comes from.
no, you aren't.
Do you understand that people would not know what truth is if
Do
it wasn't
you
for Jesus?
understand what words mean? Again, you just sound like a person who's going, I'm going to call in.
Where does the word truth come
hang on
from,
a second.
Jimmy?
Hang on a second. The word truth is an English word, so not Jesus.
Well, first of all, English has only been around for about 1,500 years.
Right.
You know
So
that,
the
right?
word truth ain't coming from Jesus.
Is an interpretation of another word.
And you think that before
is
Jesus
similar to
existed,
what we're using.
you think that before Jesus existed, the concept of truth or the phrases that would have been used, that no words would have eventually been translated to truth other than some word that was spoken by Jesus. Do you hear how absurd that is?
Prove it. Prove me wrong.
By what? Finding something like court systems that existed in the past before Jesus? Are you not aware that court systems existed in the past before Jesus? And they wanted to. How? In what form, Sam, would you like that? You fucking dishonest idiot who has come in here and still not actually asked about what form would you like the fucking proof? What form would you like proof that justice systems existed before Jesus Christ existed? And why should I engage with you who are trying to weaponize the fact that you are an ignoramus and want me to now take you to fucking school when I've already disabused you of multiple notions and you want to just hide between what's your specific example and let's go ahead and blah, 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 blah. Did court systems exist before justice systems exist before Jesus?
Yes.
Okay, you're not real. I can hear the chuckle in your voice. Fuck off. No, you aren't. Fuck off. It's not a real Yes. Fucking time-wasting sack of shit. You are so full of shit. Your eyes have pink eye from the goddamn inside. Fucking Christ. What a stupid fucking thing. On the slightest chance that that person is serious, that the word truth, and by the way, even if you could prove the etymology of the word truth existed, only originated with the story of Jesus Christ, because we don't have proof that Jesus Christ said a single fucking word. Even if you want to accept that Jesus Christ is a historical figure that lived, we don't have proof of a single word of his being said. Jesus didn't write a single thing himself. So you could say that the authors, who are anonymous, by the way, of the Gospels, we don't fucking know who they are. Even if you could prove the etymology is linked to that, the concept of truth existed prior to it. Justice systems existed prior to it. The idea of, hey, is the sun out? Yes or no? And whether or not you accurately answer that question pre-existed it. And so the idea that the English word truth might have some Jesus-linked etymology is as stupid as the fucking people who say, well, you use AD and BC, this giant cultural thing, as though we're arguing that Christianity hasn't had a tremendous historical and cultural impact, you fucking moron. It still wouldn't matter and it still wouldn't prove anything. And it's so obvious to me when a person isn't engaging in good faith, when they hop from thing to thing to thing that is straw-manning the original fucking topic, which is the trauma that comes from religion. They are asked on multiple fucking occasions, would they like to know what it is? And they say, yes, in a minute, but first I'd like to straw man it again. What is the point in engaging with somebody who is that fucking dishonest? If that person was even a real Christian to begin with. It wouldn't surprise me if that's just somebody going, I just want to go play the part of as stupid a Christian as I possibly could. And I hope for your sake, Sam was the name, no pronouns was the game. I hope for your sake you were a troll. I hope for your sake that you don't actually have beliefs that stupid, that demonstrably weak foundationally. If the idea that something is true because of its significant historical cultural impact, then fucking everything is true. Everything you're aware of is true because of the amount of impact it has. Most of history is lost. Most of written history is lost. most things that happened is lost. So anything you know from history had such historical significance to make it to you. Are we just going to accept the premises of all of those things are fucking true? Weird that you're not a Muslim. Weird that you're not a Hindu. Those have had tremendous impact. And weird that you would hide behind this stupid concept of etymology as though even if it was true, and again, it's not. Conceptually, the idea of truth way pre-existed. The word truth, let's just find out. Is the word truth in the Old Testament? Maybe it's not. What an interesting thing it would be if the word truth didn't exist in the Old Testament. Emeth is the main Hebrew word for truth in the Old Testament. It is the word that is translated to truth. Psalms 119, 160, the entirety of your word is truth, and all your righteous judgments endure forever. Even in your own fucking book, the word came up before Jesus. Did you just make it up on the spot? Did you just hear that in Sunday school somewhere? What the actual fuck was that stupid argument? Sam, you were either a troll, in which case there's not a good reason to engage you. The person who wouldn't offer pronouns. Such an easy question to answer, but somehow going to be emasculated by letting the chat know how they should refer to them in the third person. You're either a troll or you're too stupid to engage. I will tell you this. I think Emmanuel is probably banned from the show because there has already been people raising issue with us having Emmanuel on the basis, including other hosts, who said, kind of feels like we're just hitting on somebody who's not in, we're just beating up on somebody whose intellectual capability has been demonstrated to not be good. However, that was already weighing on me. But this week I received an email from Emmanuel, and I am now convinced that Emmanuel is a troll, because the night of the last show where I said Emmanuel is a truck driver, I believe, he started the email with, "Hi, Jimmy. This is Emmanuel. I don't know if you remember me." The guy who calls in multiple times a week, the guy who every time he calls in, I tell him things that he had said in the past, started the email with, "I don't know if you remember me," which is a monumentally stupid thing to say. Beyond what even an intellectually incapable person, I think, would say, because he was still articulate enough. So I do think we are probably done with Emmanuel. And I will be making sure that other shows are aware of that. But of course, I don't control the other places' programming. If I did, the programs would be better. I'm a dick. All right, let's talk to Az in Washington. Az, you are on the line. Az, Washington, are you on the line?
Hi.
Hi, there you are.
Yeah.
Hello, hello. How do I say your name? What's the right way? Should I call you Arizona?
Yeah, as was correct.
Okay, because I have both letters as capitalized. Wasn't sure if that was correct or not.
I think that was because last time I called, Forrest called me Arizona.
Gotcha. All good. Well, we've got you in here as Az, but I'm happy to call you Arizona if you prefer.
I would not.
You would not. Okay. Go ahead and give us your question, your premise, your challenge, your issue.
Sorry, the shit that Sam said from the last call it kind of ties into it, and it really fucked me up for a bit.
Sure.
Like,
weaponized ignorance can do that.
I had a very I had a great church. They were all kind, loving, all that good shit. I wasn't abused. But, like, leaving the church was so very damaging because I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know that I was worth anything. I tried to kill myself repeatedly because, like, there was no greater being that loved me. I didn't matter. And, like, I wasn't taught that I mattered without a God. And so, like...
Yeah, quite the opposite. Not only are we taught not taught that we matter without a God. Well, were you raised in a Christian tradition?
Yeah.
Christian tradition is you are filthy without a God, that you are an inherent sinner, that you are dirty, that you need to be purified, that you're disgusting.
My mom always says impure.
Impure, sure. Fine. It's one, it's one of the synonyms. But if we want to go through the Bible, it is very much you are garbage and not necessarily even worthy of redemption. In fact, the whole concept of being redeemed by God isn't that we are worthy of it. It's that God is so loving, he would offer us redemption despite not being worthy of his love, not being worthy of redemption, that he is going out of his way to redeem us for characteristics we have that motherfucker, according to the story, put into us. It's an entirely stupid premise from the onset, and it's literally just meant to break you down and make you vulnerable and make you feel like shit. It's creating an illness to sell you the medication. It's creating a poison to sell you the antidote. And that's all it is.
So that kind of ties into what my question originally was, but then like the shit Sam said brought up all that other background stuff sort of. But basically another part of when I left, I was gonna ask like if you ever had like a God voice of like when you interpreted things in the world as God communicating to you, or like you thought you felt God's presence or whatever. Because when I slowly stopped believing, part of because I didn't know how to love myself and all that, I also didn't know how to live without a God voice. So my stuffed animals literally started talking to me. Like I could hear their voices, and then like instead of God giving me strength to like get out of bed and not be depressed, it was like literally like inanimate objects, because that's how ingrained that all these ideas were like.
Yeah, so I will say
I've grown out of that now. So I was just wondering if you ever had a God voice or how that changed, or if yours just went poof. Because I was young when I lost it, so
yeah.
I don't know.
A couple things. One, I can't speak too much to your experience, because what you're describing is something that when you're younger, you can have temporary experiences of, especially going through puberty and stuff, you can basically have, just for the timeline of puberty, certain mental experiences that end up not being long-term for the rest of your life. There are people who've had like really extreme examples of like schizophrenia and stuff like that during puberty, and then it seeming to go into remission in their older age, and then with some people it recurring. I'm not going to speak to that specifically, because if you were literally hearing voices from an inanimate object, that's still something you should explore with a psychologist or psychiatrist, and I'm just simply not equipped with that. Now, as far as the conditioning, the concept of a still small voice, the concept of the word of God and how we hear it, the whisper where we hear it but we don't hear it, it's an internal type of hearing. All of those things are things that I grew up with, but it was never a physical voice. And reality, what it was is it was my internal monologue, which I was going to say we all have, but there are people out there who claim they don't. It's hard to believe. I will admit I have a hard time believing it. And so I just go, wow, that sounds unbelievable, but far be it from me to call everyone who says that a liar, even though that seems like a level of if you didn't have one, your ability to function in society would be so dramatically different and noticeable that we'd be able to identify that.
For a moment.
No, not yet. Let me finish up.
Okay, sorry.
But what my version of the spirit was much more confident use of my internal monologue, much more feelings of almost, oftentimes I would almost compare it to the way I feel when I experience mania, almost that level of just entire self-assurance contained within the internal monologue. Now you may go, if you like.
Like the stuff Dan was talking about was the first time I had an internal monologue, because I don't know if, but this is how it's always portrayed in like books and movies, but I've never thought in words. So like I do think, but like it's more in concepts and images than actual words.
Yes, these are the repeated phrases that I've heard in all of the literature I've read about it. So again, I'm not calling anybody a liar or telling anybody they do or don't. It just is not something. It's a bit like how hard it would be to conceive if somebody says I actually hear in color. how hard a person who's never, well, that's, you can actually do certain drugs to make that happen. So maybe it was an imperfect example. But for somebody to describe a sense that you can't even perceive, like an animal sense, electromagnetism, outside of the way we experience, because we actually do have a basic electromagnetic sense as humans. And so, again, I'm not going to call anybody a liar. It's imperceivable to me. I can't sympathize or empathize from any personal way. I just have to sit there and go, okay, that's what they say. Sure, like, yeah, and what the phrase "I think in concepts" means doesn't really mean anything to me, because I also think in concepts just with words. So like I said, it's
So
just
when you think, you have like actual words in your head?
inconceivable. Again, yes, your incredulousness. I've read these in many boards. So I'm surprised that in being aware that you don't have an inner monologue, you haven't familiarized yourself with what an inner monologue is, though, and you should, is all I'm saying. Yeah, look up, Google it up.
Okay.
It'll be good. It'll be a good resource,
Okay,
good thing to
I
check
will.
out. Yeah, I'm not trying to be hostile, just letting you know. It's if it's a thing that you've become aware you don't have, you should definitely research both sides of that issue.
Okay.
Cool.
I will keep that in mind.
Hell yeah. But as far
Thank
as
you.
with the stuff you were saying at the beginning, that shame stuff, the trauma that comes from, and I was similar to you. I very much did not want to be alive, and I took steps to correct that when I was younger. Nothing made me feel. This doesn't mean I don't experience depression or even suicidal ideation as an adult. I do. I've had things happen in my life but the way in which it was systemic, the way in which going and looking for solutions around me amongst the people who are supposed to be the resource that are attached to this super loving creator who's supposed to take care of me, supposed to be my father, supposed to be the thing that gives me value, gives me perfect purpose. And the way in which it is met with such indifference, or this idea of like, well, you're not praying hard enough. You're not being religious hard enough. This thing that's incompatible with your identity. And I suspect it looks like you are probably non-binary based on the pronouns you've offered. I'm going to guess that you also had a similar solution of the religious identity that was being issued to me was incompatible with who I am at my core. And so to tell me I'm not doing that well enough, yeah, no shit, I can't do that.
I tried to explain to my mother what it was like once. It was like losing a parent and her and my friends and family. And like, it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they don't get that. And then she said, no, you're just impure and you can't hear the voice anymore. When I explained to her that, like, I heard stuffed animals, like, no, the God voice just changed into the stuffed animal's voice. I wasn't impure all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's funny because these people are generally very uncomfortable when you reveal the results of things like prayer studies, that actually being aware people are praying for you can be detrimental to your health. There is zero ties to better outcomes if you take a group of people and some of them are prayed for to be healed in a hospital and others aren't. If anything, the only thing that they've measured a difference in is the people who are aware that people are praying for them versus the ones who aren't. And that actually can worsen outcomes. But yes, it's
I don't know if I'm non-binary per se. It's just that my first language doesn't have gendered pronouns, and they make me a little weird. So I've just been going with this.
Word. I sort of years ago I got a little bit shit
okay
on for suggesting
language.
like why not? I had suggested that cis people maybe they should consider using they them pronouns to sort of work toward a language in which we are neutralizing this concept, because I actually do think language would be superior if we removed all references to gendered pronouns. And I got kind of shit on because of many people's mistake, the idea that non-binary people's pronouns are they them, when in reality most non-binary people's pronouns are they them because they are being referenced without gender. And so it's sort of like there are people who are a different type of non-binary and they can say my pronouns are vir ver, and that would be their pronouns, whereas they them are the universal pronouns when you're trying to speak without at all. It's fun. We've been hitting a few of my more controversial takes over the years here tonight, and it's sad that back then I feel like if that had happened again today, I would have pushed back and been like, y'all are fucking wrong. But it's sad because it's like whenever you're talking to somebody who's a part of a group who's wrong about a concept within that group, the fact that you are not in that group usually doesn't do you any favors. It's unpleasant.
I misgender people sometimes just because I'm not used to gendered pronouns.
It happens. It's usually an accident. Yeah. We had this happen
like
in the last week.
Or something for me to use they, them, right?
What's that? There's nobody in the world who they, them doesn't apply to. That in English, those are the neutral pronouns. Now, that said, if a person asks you to not use they, them for them, because, so for example, they, them, okay. Concept one, they, them are the universal pronouns. It doesn't have any gender. A man is a they, them. A woman is a they, them. Everybody in between and outside of that, they're all they, thems. These are the universal they are just pronouns and they just refer to a human, no gender, doesn't matter. Non-binary people, concept two, often use they, them because they don't want to be referenced by gender, only as human. And some non-binary people don't even want to be recognized as human. This is where the concept of it's being reclaimed has come up as people are discussing. That's a very complicated thing. And the whole idea of having people outside of a community assist in reclaiming a slur is also very complicated and uncomfortable. But as far as the concept goes, concept two is many non-binary people prefer they, them. Some non-binary people still feel a sense of gender, because concept three, that they have a gender, but that gender isn't male or female. And those non-binary people often do adopt a different set. So you might have tir, ter, vir, ver, zir, zer. These are some of the more common ones that come up. And because they have that sense of like, while I'm saying I'm non-binary as I'm not male or female, I'm not saying I'm nothing. And I do have a sense of gender and that exists here. And I would like pronouns for that gender to go along in the same way that male have that privilege and females have that privilege. Those are all simultaneously true concepts. But then here's the last one, and here's where you should be cautious, when you should be cautious in your application of using they, them. If somebody has told you that they are trans and that their pronouns are, let's say she, her in this case, because I think this is where it comes up the most, and you, without talking to them about why you would do that, are using they, them, but especially if you're using they, them for them, but you're also using she, her for other women, or he, him for men, that you are using gendered pronouns, or this person isn't aware of it, it can, because there are people who go, I won't call you she, her, because I'm not going to legitimize your identity as a woman, but I think it's kind of me to also not call you he, him because you don't want to be called that. People have weaponized they, them, especially against binary transitioners. So this is that final concept. I think we're on 4. They have weaponized they, them against people who have transitioned in the same way that it's has been weaponized against people who have transitioned. It's sort of a method of going, you identify as she, her, and while I won't he, him you, but I'm not giving you she, her. So I will only neutralize your pronouns. That has happened as well. It's, I think, becoming less common. More often just malicious misgendering is common. But those are multiple concepts you should be aware of simultaneously, and don't ever fuck up or you're screwed. No, I'm just kidding. We're allowed to make mistakes. It happened earlier. Within the last couple of weeks, we had somebody misgender someone by accident. They realized they did it on the show, apologized for it, and then somebody in the chat or in the comments literally said like, it's not that hard. You shouldn't be doing this. Misgendering, blah, 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 blah. And I literally told that person in the comments publicly to shut the fuck up. So you get to make mistakes. People make mistakes. And you just do your best and try and do better each day than the day before.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Az.
Have a good night.
See ya. I didn't know I was going to go into my alter ego, Jimmy, who gives the no fucks tonight. My goodness. But it looks like we have raised something like $500 so far. $400 to $500. I think we were approaching $900. I only see it doesn't give me a more specific number. I just see 1.3K. Fucking awesome. But let's do more. Seriously, because 100% of your donation goes to RFR, send any amount. I think you can't send less than $1. It might even be $2. If you can send anything, send it. Send it in and give it to RFR. I know that there are going to be some people who are not able to. I get it. You are going to have to forgive us. In the next day or so, as we're doing this fundraiser, we're not going to keep specifying every time, like, hey, send us that donation now. We need your money. Unless, by the way, if you blah, 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 be aware we're not bitter or angry at anybody who literally doesn't have the funds to contribute. By the way, though, if you don't, but you do have time, RFR is always looking for volunteers. You should definitely check out their website. So, continuing on. Boy, this has been a fun night. Wonder which thing people will be the most mad at and make response videos for. Yes, NB is, if I said NB, I don't know if somebody else was referring to that. NB is short for, it's ENBY. It's sort of a nickname for the letters NB, which stand for non-binary. I have to manually handle all my name tags here. I'm excited to talk to John in New Jersey. John in New Jersey, a theist.
Yep. I'm a theist, Jimmy. Don't kick my ass, man. Okay, I was having a fun time with the people in the chat room.
We'll have a good time.
They're not interested in talking to me. Jimmy, I just want you to analyze me, okay? I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'll just give you my opinion on something. I'm a freaking weirdo anyway. But, Jim, listen, I'm a theist. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I'm anti-fundamentalist, anti-evangelico, anti-Baptist.
Okay.
Okay. I don't believe in Puritanism. It causes trauma. It caused me a lot of trauma.
Can we pause? I want to ask some clarifications. Yeah. I know what fundamentalism literally means, but most people do not use it the way it literally is meant. So when you say that you are anti-fundamentalism, what is it that you are against?
Legalist, Puritanism, and people trying to live a certain lifestyle.
Okay.
And condemn people who don't live just like them.
So I'd like to share with you what fundamentalism is, because I think you are indeed not using the term correctly. I'm not saying that you shouldn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So the term fundamentalism refers to strict adherence. And within Christianity, Christianity means, if you are a Christian fundamentalist, you mean that the Bible is the word of God and that every word is in there meant as is, that you are adhering to. So it is because the Bible is against gay people existing, let alone anything else, you're against gay people existing. People. Well, that's very sweet of you. Yeah, good. Good. So to be clear, you believe that the Bible isn't inerrant, right? It's flawed, but that there are core issues in it, that there are core things within it that point to a loving God and creator, and all the things that point to perhaps a poisonous and toxic creator, that is all maybe from man.
I can't. Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to. Okay. Yes, it's like man uses the Bible to justify his own personal beliefs. If he hates gays, if he doesn't.
But let's go before that. Do you think that every word in the Bible is the words God wanted there, or do you think that men have corrupted the writings in the Bible?
I think men corrupted it to justify their own personal lifestyle.
When I say corrupted, I mean not. They put in untrue things in it.
Well, man did, yeah.
Yeah. So the Bible is not the inerrant word of God, correct?
Well, the original, I don't know, Jim. I can't answer that because we don't have the original text.
That's fine. Any version of the Bible you're aware of existing today will be fine. The King James Version is not the inerrant word of God. In fact, it's quite errored, in fact, right?
I know. I found so many things that are off key. I can't figure it out.
Okay. Good. So far, basically, it sounds like you believe in Christianity, but something compels you to not accept it whole cloth, because if you did accept it whole cloth, you believe you would be an evil person.
Yes.
Right. Now, you do understand that whatever that thing is that compels you, that internal feeling, that has to be independent of the thing you're assessing, right? Like, your Christianity can't be the thing that tells you parts of Christianity are bad. You have to have something other than your Christianity, some external thing to assess it and go, I can't as a human bring myself to the same conclusions about queer people, despite the presence of this and the historicity of this within Christianity, that has to be something else.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. John, continue.
Yeah. Okay, I can't. I'm getting lost here. It has to be man's twisting of like scriptures and everything to justify his own personal lifestyle. I don't know if you follow me or not.
No, I do. John, let's just say the Bible isn't true even at the beginning. I believe you could create a book that was filled with just good things, even just true things, actually. Let's say it was true, that there could have been an original book, whether God existed or not, that I don't believe this about the Bible, but I do think humans are capable of. You could take something beautiful and wonderful, filled with great moral lessons, and you could corrupt it. You know, there could be a cult that exists in 5,000 years, and it's actually based on the Lord of the Rings, and they're very evil people, despite the fact that the Lord of the Rings is some of the greatest literature to ever exist. So whether or not the Bible is true or not, I definitely think humans are capable of the type of corruption that you're describing. I will say,
yes,
we know a lot about the cultures at the time that these books are written, and some of the harsh and evil things are consistent. So I wouldn't say that means that the Bible couldn't still be corrupted by man, but it does point to a likelihood that the source material wasn't great to gay people either, for example.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I could, but that's where the conflict comes in. I like gay people. I'll have a couple beers. I go to the beach. I like R-rated movies. And if a preacher were telling me that's anti-biblical, then I have this big wrestling match inside. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, John. I like that. If a preacher tells you something's anti-biblical, that's not the end of the world to you, right? Like, that's fine.
Right.
It doesn't mean if God exists, just because something's anti-biblical, you don't believe that the Bible is literally God, and therefore something could be anti-biblical but still pro-God. That's fine so far.
Yes.
That's consistent.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. It's because I was excommunicated from a church, and they think I'm going to hell because I don't think and act like Baptists. And
was it the Jehovah's Witnesses?
No, it was Baptist.
Oh, right. You said that.
Baptist groups.
Yeah.
So they're by far the most domineering and controlling. And if you don't think and act like them, then they think you're lost.
Buddy, I had to move because of a Baptist sect. Back when I lived in Denver, I had to move because people from the NIFB were trying to find my place people angry because of the content I made. I can't say directly that they for sure were members of the church, though it seems likely. Yeah. The content I made critical of the NIFB. I had to move for my own safety to a place that had armed guards.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Really?
Yeah.
That gets scary.
Yeah.
That gets scary.
Yeah. Because that's what fucking babies do. When you don't get your way, you thrash about and you throw a fucking tantrum, you throw a fit. Steven Anderson, Tommy McMurtry, and the like are a bunch of little bitches. They can go fuck themselves. Anyway, John, go on. So what was fundamentally your question?
Okay. I didn't really have a question. I just wanted you to analyze me. What do you think? And the people online, the comments they made about me, they don't really want to bond with me because I'm a believer, So I just wanted to know, are there many people like me?
Can I give you Can I give you my tough love analysis then?
Yeah.
John, I think that you are a Christian still because you were born into a world and into a country where that is most rewarded to have some version of Christianity. I don't think that you are a skeptic, but one sec, I am relieved to hear that you have these inner monologues or what that was something we were talking about. You have this inner desire that comes from somewhere, probably people you've seen model, maybe parts of your upbringing, parts of things that were external to religion that goes, I don't want to just believe because a preacher told me. I want to feel good about how I interact with any person, whether they're Christian or not. I do not think that you have very good reasons to believe in Christianity. I think your world and life will be better after Christianity, after the trauma of leaving Christianity. But as long as Christians are going to exist, I would prefer them to be more like you than to be like Tommy McMurtry, who, by the way, may or may not be sexually attracted to pumpkins. I have no opinion on that. Yeah. It's an inside joke. It's all good.
No, I'm straight.
No, not you. Tommy McMurtry may be sexually attracted to pumpkins. By the way, straight people can be attracted to pumpkins, sir. Anyway. But yeah, it's an inside joke about that war I went to with Tommy McMurtry. In fact, if you go to TommyMcMurtry.com, you will find hundreds of photos of sexually explicit humanoid pumpkins. Not explicit. I think they're mostly censored, but sexy humanoid pumpkins on a website that is not at all associated with Tommy McMurtry or Liberty Baptist Church. I'd like to remind everybody, but TommyMcMurtry.com, that domain goes strong. God, John, it takes so long to explain it, but I think you'd be so thrilled when you found out what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Sure.
Just check it out. And, I'm not going to let any Puritan Baptist try to control my thoughts or ruin my life and traumatize me. So, I left the Puritan version of Christianity, and I have no trauma. I'm not traumatized at all. I feel free and comfortable.
John, you might not be in a current state of traumatized. You may have worked through it, but I would be very skeptical to think that you could lose if it was important to you and if the people there were important to you. Because the number one traumatic thing people have in common, I'm not saying this is the most traumatic thing, I'm saying this is the most common traumatic thing, is loss of your community, especially a ritualistic community. The people that you relied on, the people that you knew. It is not easy, and it long-term affects your relationships, the way you can trust whether or not a relationship is going to continue. And I will tell you, this is one of the things I deal with. A combination of losing my family and relationships that I had and every one of my friends from leaving my church. I now have this experience when I meet new people where the way I describe it to people, it's not literal, but it's a good metaphor, is that I have this sensation with everyone I know that there is a clock above their head and that clock is counting down, but the clock is invisible and I can't see it. I can just detect that it's counting down. I can sense that it's counting down. And when it hits 0, they're not going to be in my life anymore. So I don't know whether I'm 5 seconds away from 0 or 30 years away from 0, just that for sure it's counting down. And that's something I deal with all the time, the sense of abandonment, the sense of because of the traumatic experience of losing not just my religious community, but parts of my school community, because so many people I went to school with were Mormon. Certainly big parts of my professional community and my plans for the future. I, like so many Mormons, was planning to be a chiropractor. And that's it's a huge Mormon cliche. That loss of community, that loss of where you put so much of yourself and your purpose, it's hard to get out of that without any trauma and lasting issues. It doesn't mean that you have to be crippled by it or that you have to be collapsing and screaming in your closet. But the idea of it being trauma-free sounds virtually impossible.
Okay. Yeah. I did notice in the close-knit churches, they're like very weak-minded people that need extreme social bonding. And the only way they could get strength is in these mind-controlling churches. It's like the Puritans are like that. Most Christian sects are Puritans. And
I
do understand that. Yeah.
And American Puritanism, the way it has resurged in recent decades and centuries even, is its own special. It didn't have to be this way. If you look at the way of the relationship between individuals and their religions in places like Europe, that is actually the more natural progression of religion, whereas there's been an interception by nefarious people who have a desire for power and control. And when there were these opportunities, because we were isolated from the influences of more, we'll say, culturally evolved people, these Puritan assholes intercepted people and reinstituted their garbage. Hey, I have a question for you, John. What are you doing on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central?
Sunday? Just getting off work. 2 p.m. Central. I should be off work.
If within the 2 hours that follow that, you wanted to call back and discuss with Matt and I why you believe in God, that would be awful fun for us.
No, I can't do that because you'll rip me to shreds.
Because what?
You and Matt. No, I'll get ripped to shreds if I try, because I believe in God, but it's my emotion, it's my heartfelt. I feel like deep in my heart there's a power greater than man, and it'll go back and forth like a ping pong game. So I'll get my ass kicked. I know that.
John, let's do it. Let's do it one day anyway when you're ready. And I promise, especially if I remember who you are, and feel free to remind me. I promise to use a softer touch. We can go a little bit more Socratic than confrontational. But I think it's still worth assessing, because I think with a lot of people like you, it's that this is something I'm very emotionally attached to, and my lack of emotional attachment to the alternatives also make the alternatives not sound very appealing. We can discuss some of those alternatives and let you know what the changes in our lives were and what the rewards for making those changes were.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some homework, though, and see what I could come up with.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you, John.
By the way, you're cool. Yeah, it was fun talking to you. You're cool as hell. You know that?
Oh, thanks. It depends on when you get me and what mood I'm in. I think it's funny because a lot of when you were saying the thing about Matt and I would whatever, I'm always shocked that anybody thinks I'm the nice one. I'm much more impatient than Matt. We just express our impatience, I think, a little bit differently. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this thing behind me. It's going crazy. Anyway, I do appreciate you calling in. And we'll...
thank you for taking my call. Okay, cool.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Thank you, John.
Oh, all right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Awesome call. Awesome Theus call. I always love to have them, but I love having the other ones too. Let's see. It definitely looks like we've passed for sure, the 500 mark. Yeah. Again, every donation you make tonight and tomorrow, but we're talking $25,000, right? That is what we are aiming for. And by the way, anybody who's been involved in a charity, the fact that they can make that, how far RFR will stretch that $25,000 is beyond what I could do with $25,000. That I assure you of. It is an incredible thing. We have tonight, to that end, raised so far around 500, maybe more. Everything 100%. If you donate $5 goes into the fund. $2 goes into the fund. They're not taking out credit card fees, Apple Pay fees, nothing. It's 100% of this is going. So right now it says we've raised a total of $1,400. I think we were just shy of $900 when we got started. I would love it. Oh, I'd love it if we could pass 1,000 minimum for the night. If we could do more than that, then that's just fucking amazing. I cannot go all night. I really wish I could. In fact, we probably only are going to get through hopefully all of the calls, but making them a little bit faster that are currently on hold. And then I do have to get back to basically prep for the stream tomorrow. But let me see if can I trick this? So the problem is that this TV behind me is the same brand as a monitor in front of me. And the monitor in front of me, I need for it to switch its input. But when I try to switch its input on it, basically these things are overlapping in a way that is, I accidentally hit the shortcut to open Prime Video, and that has fucked everything up. And I really need this monitor ahead of me to be showing me what the fuck is on my screen, because that's the only, okay, that one's now correct. Let me see if I can now make this one correct. This one now is probably correct. I don't know. Here's hoping. We're fixed. I think we're good. I think everything's good. But yes, please, if you can, send more of those donations in. Thank you so much to Anonymous, who just donated $200. Incredible. Let's just go take a look at some of these contributions so far. Oh, I wish I could see a better list. I know there's a place I can see. I think, actually. Let me go look if I can pull that up in YouTube Studio and just see what kind of stuff we got going on. I really have liked tonight. I enjoy getting a little bit into the weeds of some of my more controversial things. Again, I do want to clarify again, because I know how touchy that subject is. I am not calling anybody a liar on the internal monologue thing. There are specific individuals I know who have said they don't have internal monologues, who then have also said things that reflect interacting with their internal monologues. But so those individuals, I go, boy, that doesn't make any sense. However, at large, I will just say it seems so incredible that without trying to take away that from anybody, I don't understand how it could be true. It does seem like the difference between having one and not having one, as far as how much would be different about interacting with society, would be as big as blindness. For example, having sight and not having sight. So I just want to be very clear on that, because it's good to be careful about these types of topics that can be very sensitive for people. Let's see. Can I open this? I want to open it. I want to open that and see the list. Dang. I was really hoping I could see like a list of just here are all of the things that are, here are all of the contributions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Itemized, other than just what's showing up obviously in our little side chat, because that only goes for so long. But thank you very much to the people. We've got another anonymous donation for $20. Christine donated $20. We've got anonymous $5 and another anonymous $20. Incredible how much we are doing on our pre-charity stream. It's amazing to see. Again, any amount that you can donate, literally any amount that you can donate. And if you want to donate a high amount, but do tons of, like say you wanted to donate, let's just say you wanted to be the person who donated $1,000, but you wanted to do $110 ones to maximize the number of fees that YouTube will also have to pay. I'm not saying you should do that. YouTube would probably get mad at me for saying that. I'm just saying that that is an option to people out there. Thank you, Fruno Bulax, for the $25 contribution as well. 100% going to not just charity, but a charity that is so necessary, recovering from a religion. All right, let's talk to Raven, pronouns he, him, from Costa Rica. I wonder, are you the one who's always so creative with telling me how to go fuck myself, or are you a different Raven?
Well, it's a different Raven. We spoke before when we were talking about Trump.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, Raven, we are going to make this one a little bit quick, but go ahead and what's your question or point of conversation here?
Three things. To Sam, who said that Jesus Christ invented the idea of truth, let me just tell you two things, Sam. One, if we take into consideration Jesus Christ spoke Aramaic. Aramaic, the origins of that language, between 11th and 12th BCE. So, no, Jesus Christ did not invent the word truth. And if we look at it from an etymological point, but that guy was a tremendous troll.
Either a troll or just a failed thinker. So again, no value in either direction of engaging.
Seriously. Now, look, I know we got to keep it short. I just wanted to point three major aspects of the subject today. Religion causes trauma. Yes, and how I think that one of the major points is that I would like to make is that there is a personal sense of how that traumatic experience happens with religion, but also there's this baggage of historical sense of it. And I speak it as a Latin American. Look, Christianity, Islamic, Jewish, the European, Mesopotamian, Abrahamic religions were utilized as weapons of mass destruction in our in the invasion of Europeans here in this continent. And whatever way you see it, 600 years afterwards, that still represents a historical, cultural, traumatic reality for all of us. The reason you are a Christian and you're living in America, from either United States, Mexico, Central America, South America, is because you are still bounded by the colonial invasion that happened. Because if we look into this perspective, I've been an atheist since I've been 8 years old. I declare myself as an atheist.
Raven, I'm just going to step in to encourage some promptness here, as reminding you that we now are toward the end of the show, and we got to take each of these calls quickly. So we can't do too much history lesson and stuff. I think you're talking to a mostly sympathetic audience. Colonialism has been horrible for the world. It's been the concept of forced religious stuff. I think we're all in agreement here, so we can just sort of round into the point.
Around to the point is, we have to view from a trauma from that perspective also, and it's very important whenever making the point. That, just to add into the aspect of how you can minimize the traumatic experience of living religion, is also to readjust your form of thinking. So to make that point, three major things that help is, for example, everybody tells us we're in the year 2020.
No, Raven. Just list the three things.
I know.
I love you to pieces, Raven. Just list the three things. Let's not do any more for examples.
Okay.
Number one, this. Two, this. Three, this, and then we're good. Great.
Number one, change the way you view the year you're at. We're not in the year 2023. We're in the year 12,023 of the human era. Two, deconstruct the way you form your ideas. Renounce belief and start associating yourself more with being a skeptic. And three, the most important thing is having a trauma means recognizing that trauma. And once you do so, work on your trauma. And for that, you can't do it alone. You need others around you.
Cool. Raven, this is a very polite reminder. I just want to let you know in the future. Make sure when you call in the future that you're more thinking in terms of conversation back and forth, question, that sort of thing. The show's not really a call-in and monologue show. I'm not saying any of your points were bad. They were all good points. Just letting you know that is the format of the show for the future. But Raven, for those points, thank you. And thank you for calling in. And we will talk to you next time. And I'll probably think you were the other Raven next time too. And now I can't hear you because my headphones just unplugged.
That's fine.
Moment.
All right, I hope everybody has a good night. I just wanted to quickly give that point.
Awesome.
And thank you for having me, Jimmy. And if you ever want somebody, I am a monologist. I love being monologist, but, anyhow, thanks so much.
Thanks, Raven.
And I love to digress. That's true.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Thanks.
All right. You take care.
Bye-bye. Just want to say a ton of donations have come in just the last few minutes, and I very, very much appreciate it. I do want to say, as I'm going to sit here and go, thank you so much to Rhonda H. for $50. Thank you so much for the 400 Mexican pesos. I'm going to say that's $25 in American money. So thank you so much to Anonymous for the pesos. Thank you, $200 Canadian, which I think is roughly $1.50. No, I'm just kidding. That $200 Canadian is amazing. Thank you so much to Katy Montgomerie. New Zealand $100, which might be worth $1 million because I think New Zealand's dollar's worth more than the American. Thank you so much. $20 for Jordan Anime for donated 20. I got cookies $50. Anonymous $6 and I killed Earl 50. While I want to both say thank you so much. A lot of donations in a short period of time. We've done over $1,000 tonight in donations alone. I think we're at about $1,200 so far. Granted, that's a drop in the bucket for what we need to do overall. We really want to hit that $25,000 mark. Luckily, we're lining some stuff up. We've got some exciting things tomorrow where we're going to be able to make some of that easier because we've got some people who are putting up matching funds tomorrow. So there are going to be periods of time tomorrow where we're going to be able to potentially hit the goal up a little bit faster, a little bit higher. But having such a strong start, it's amazing. I do want to say, I hope that the large donations aren't discouraging anybody at the lower donation ends. If you're sitting there going like, I can't contribute $50, I can't do 200 Canadian like Kathleen Moncleaf, do know $25,000 is a lot of money, but it can also, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a few donations. And in fact, across politics and political campaigns, we've already seen that a grassroots effort, a group of people who are a lot of people incentivized to give a little bit of money, a lot of people doing a little bit, tends to actually be more, tends to fundraise better than the people who are out there just trying to get the big donors. So if $2 is what you can do, obviously don't give us your last $2. If that $2 is important to live, don't give us your last $2. But if $2 is what you can do, give that $2. lots of people giving $2 adds up to a lot of money. I think right now we've got over 500 people watching. Obviously, that would be another $1,000. If 500 people gave $2, we would be another 1/25th, 4%, which is that's not insignificant at all. Another 4% on our way to the goal. So if $2 is what you can do, that would be incredible. And I just want to make sure that nobody is feeling discouraged by that. Obviously, we do say, like, thank you so much to the people who give those larger donations. And granted, right now, I'm just reading the donations as I see them. I'm sorry I haven't been doing that the whole show. But lots and lots of people with little donations is as powerful as a few people with big donations, if not more. Because then you are showing, it's kind of like, you know that idea, that concept out there people have of my vote doesn't even matter? Did you know the actual worst thing is that you feel that way? Because if you feel that way, other people probably feel that way. And if you can convince, if an individual can go, actually, I feel like it does matter, that often reflects a greater group of people than just the single individual, wherever that came from, that feeling came from. And so it's actually attitudes of my vote doesn't count, doesn't matter, that can shift. And politicians know this. They want you to believe that. This is why I got so fucking shitty in years past when there were creators who were friendly enough with me, or we were running in the same groups, who would say, like, I'm not going to vote and you shouldn't either. None of it fucking matters. Because the attitude of it not fucking matters is what is the problem. Sure, statistically, if your vote was taken away, does anything change? No, not in almost any election. But if your attitude changes, that is usually reflective of a bigger group. We have power in numbers, and we can fucking change a lot of people's lives, and you can participate in helping people who, when they get out of religion, don't know what to do next, don't know where to go next. And a resource like Recovering from Religion that will connect you to people who can help you make that plan or help you connect to therapists, what an invaluable resource that is. Thank you for several more anonymous donations. Jason Jack for the $20. Nasacius for 20 Canadian dollars. Too Young to Feel This Old, $69. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And then when I think about tomorrow night and how many hours we're doing, we need to raise thousands of dollars per hour. So anything we do tonight lowers that per hour need. And yeah, that I need to stop fidgeting with this. Do you see? I just actually made that. Stop touching the remotes, Jimmy. Stop with your compulsive needing to always occupy your hands and make them do things. Stop, drop, roll. Thank you, Anne Maria, for $5. Seriously, lots and lots of people with small donations would be incredible. So please don't feel discouraged by the because you can't match what some of these people are doing in there. Do what you can. It makes a huge, huge difference. All right. Another quick one, I think. Emily in Kentucky. Like I said, we got to kind of make these last calls a little bit quicker, but Emily in Kentucky, what's on your mind?
Hey, Jimmy. I've been really anxious to talk to y'all, so thanks so much for taking my call.
You're welcome. Lay it on me.
I've been, I would say, like, not involved necessarily, but I've been to, like, ACA conferences and things like that before. I've done, like, March for Our Lives, and, I feel kind of estranged in a way from the community, not for anyone else's fault, but because I'm not, like, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous.
Sure.
I'm not necessarily a humanist, and in theory I would say I am, but I'm not active in the community of humanism. So can you kind of give me some feedback on how I can feel like in place, because it is so closely tied together?
Yeah. So I wouldn't focus on being involved in the humanist community. I would be focused in communities which are consistent with humanism, which also strike passion for you. Because, so for example, we're obviously trying to build some type of community locally. We're going to be building a community center and all of this stuff. Hopefully that's the goal. But as far as the actual community goes, humanist communities across the spectrum aren't very well organized usually, and you're not going to usually find just like, where's my local humanist center? Like I said, we want to change that, but we can only do, in my lifetime, we'll be lucky if we do it in 3 cities. Well, maybe, unless something just took off and we get some billionaires who want to just leave their estates to us. But barring that, my goal is 3 cities before I die. I would focus on trying to get involved with communities which are consistent with humanistic values. Certainly, if you belong to any specific group, it's always, you do better work in the places that you recognize yourself and you are passionate about. And so if you can find the places with your passion and that can spark that in you, those are the places you want to do it. And it's most charities that are non-religious especially are going to have some element of that. So whether that's, soup kitchens to different queer charities or whatever. And money is nice. Time is nice. But there's different ways to donate if you don't have much of those. Now, I shouldn't say time, but volunteering efforts. Some people are very non-social. By the way, that's me. I am very non-social.
Yes, exactly. My problem too.
But there's obviously still a place that I can help out. And this is what I love about RFR. Because while a lot of people are non-social, if they're non-social in the way I'm non-social, I can still do phone calls. I can still do, and RFR needs volunteers to take calls where people are calling and saying, I've lost my religion. I don't believe anymore. I'm losing my family, blah, blah, blah. And you'll be trained in the right things to say back. It's not like you have to know. They train you and show you how to handle a person who's in that specific crisis. RFR is an incredible example of a charity for people who aren't the most social. But there are other ways too. Even reaching out and just say like, hey, I'm this very non-social person. I really don't want to be on meetings. I don't want to be on calls, but I have this specific skill. Maybe I'm a graphic artist and I'd like to volunteer my time for you. Here's an example of some of my work, whether you do it as a hobby or you do it as whatever. If you have some skill, you may not even know how your skill could be utilized. But I guarantee you, if you reach out to an organization and say, I have this specific skill and I'm good at it and I've worked on it, if there's a way you can utilize it, I would like to volunteer some amount of time and effort and labor to you. If they will first go, can we think of a way to utilize this? Will this spread will this help us do more of the good? There's going to be someone who's going to be able to place you. So just figure out what works for you. If you're wanting to just feel better, I don't feel like I do enough, and I'm doing more than 95% of the people who are watching right now. So I can't tell you how to feel like you're doing enough. I never feel, not only do I not ever feel like I'm doing enough, I feel tremendous guilt constantly for how cynical I am, because I really feel like I am trying to make something happen and work toward a world that almost feels impossible. Things are getting so bad. There's such a decline and such a regression in so many categories that I feel like I'm swimming against waves and not making progress. If anything, I'm going back. And yet, here I am. And yet I persist like the little asshole I am.
Nah, give yourself some grace, dude.
Oh, that wasn't without grace. I'm a graceful asshole. Any other questions for me, Emily?
No, it was a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much. That was actually very much more helpful than I anticipated, so thank you.
I often surprise my own self with anytime I come up with anything remotely insightful. It's like, wow, Jesus Christ, I must have heard somebody give that lecture before, because where the fuck did it come from anyway? Anyway, thank you, Emily.
Yeah, it was you. All right, thanks.
See ya. Do you know, every now and then I have people email me, and even friends who try to have interventions about my self-deprecation. I'm not kidding. I think I've had 2 in the last week where they're like, hey, we're worried about you because you've been self-deprecating more. And it's like, it's because life is harder recently and self-deprecation is the good thing I'm doing. What are you talking about? But yeah, I've been dealing with some health stuff lately. But somebody was saying that they thought they'd feel silly about $2. Don't feel silly about $2. In fact, it's one of those things too. There's actually there's a story in the Bible about this, ironically. But broken clocks. I'm way more impressed by a person who stretches, who actually sacrifices to go and say something like, look, I can do $2, but this thing that I like to do maybe I got to do it one less time or whatever. Again, don't give us your last $2. Survive, live, thrive even. But people who sacrifice, people for who $2 is tough or is all they can do and they'd like to do more, that's way more impressive than people with privilege and deep pockets. Like, as far as your contribution relative to what you are capable of is much more significant to. Now, don't get me wrong, there are those people out there who are like, I gave you $100 and that was a lot. And that was tough for me. And I've even made those donations in the past before, where one time I donated something and someone was like, yeah, but that was, I think it was like $250 to I did a matching funds thing for a YouTuber who was doing something years ago. And I was like, yeah, I'll match it. It might have even been 500. And that afterwards, I was like, I should have done less. That was a mistake. That money had plans. But at the end of it, it was like, I survived, I lived and everything. And so there are times in my life where that $500 was, wouldn't have been as hard to accomplish. And that time it wasn't. So even just in my own zone, I can think of times in the past that I've probably donated $500 to like the Trevor Project. And it was like, yeah, I have that capability right now to do that and not miss it. Not, I'm bad at saving anyway. I tend to reinvest everything in the business, but there have been times where that's much more comfortable. And then there are times where it was really hard. And as I just think back to my own relative self, it's like the time it was hard was actually impressive. The time it was not hard, I'm almost kind of like, I'm not impressed at all. Where it's like, oh, great, you did that instead of buying a VR headset. Like, do you want a fucking parade? Not to say anybody who's got an extra $500, please do donate and I'll give you a parade anyway. But I am just trying to put things into perspective. A person who sends $2 because that's what they can do, it's actually a bit more impressive. We are very thankful to all of our contributors, though, and it shouldn't be a competition. I'm merely trying to validate the people who may feel too embarrassed to send a small donation. Rodentine Queen Tika donated $5. DJ donated $5. By the way, if you are watching this after the fact, you can go and find the stream for tomorrow, and you can put donations up in advance. You can donate anytime. If you are watching and the other stream has happened, you probably can still pull up. There's probably a donate button above the like recommended videos, like to the left of the video or below it. The donate button should be there anyway. Anyway, thank you again to everybody. And it looks like we've got some new ones from Dustin. Thank you. A couple of anonymous donate. Oh, by the way, that's another thing. If you don't want your name next to it, you can just mark anonymous. If you feel like I'm still embarrassed to I don't know. I get it. It's society and society sucks. If you're like, I'm going to send $1, but I feel like my username next to that would just make me feel weird or something. You can also send it anonymously. Seriously, I would love to see lots of little donations. If, again, don't send us your last $1. But if you got $1 that you can part with, send it in. 100% of it's going to RFR. DJ, thank you so much. Rodentine Queen, thank you so much. John Mathers, $100. Wow. We love it. We love to see it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Maria for $5. Dustin for $5. Anonymous for 2, Anonymous for 2, and Anonymous for 1. Thank you, all 3 of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got cookies, another $2. Appreciate it very, very much. I love it too. I love some of these people who have done repeat donations because every time I just think like, haha, YouTube's covering the transaction fees. Of course I play Beat Saber. Y'all know I'm a VR enthusiast, but you don't think I play Beat Saber? The fuck? I just got their, well, not just, it was a couple months ago, but I did get their Queen pack. Thank you very much, Andrew, and another anonymous donation, both for $5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Let's talk to Jay in Colorado, my old stomping grounds. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. My sinuses are reacting to dust or something in the air. So I'm sorry if I start to get a little bit cough-like, but go ahead and give us your question.
No questions, but more specifically about, I think people who are still in the religion don't recognize trauma. I didn't.
Sure.
So I went all the way through mission, Mormon church mission, and did the whole married in the temple, which, by the way, is awful.
Yeah.
The ceremony there is just terrible.
Yeah, but at least the clothes are hot, right?
Sure.
Little Mormon inside humor here between Jay and I. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. I didn't realize the trauma that I had in the religion until I was out.
Yeah.
And it took years. I'd probably say 5 or 6 years after I left to shed Mormonism ideas.
I honestly, Jay, I don't know that it all goes away. How long have you been out?
Probably 9 years or so.
Yeah, I'm on about 15-ish because I don't know the exact moment I left because of other circumstances, but somewhere between 18 and 21. By 18, I was, fully having sex and living a non-Mormon life, but and not really pretending as much. But by 21, I'm definitely out. Somewhere between 18 and 21 is when I had that moment in my old childhood bedroom where I just realized, it's not true.
I was in my late 30s.
I know, and I'm very sorry. It's an asshole thing to brag about. My I know I have a brother who's jealous of how early I figured it out too, but and why wouldn't you be? Like it's an objectively terrible place to be, and so yeah, the sooner you realize the better. But Jay, I mean I'm like, maybe it's different because of the ages, but there are times where I recognize like, oh, I'm sensitive about this topic still because of this, or I'm definitely still dealing with the things I was talking about earlier, those abandonment issues, those feelings of loss that at the end of the day, who you are won't matter as much as whether or not you're satisfying the expectations set on you. That's something that's still like a core issue I'm dealing with in therapy. And that's from Mormonism, signed and paid for.
Yeah. So here's an example of one that's just lately, probably within the last.
Jay, you've cut out. Did we lose Jay? Well, I'm going to bet Jay muted the phone with his face. I'm going to have a second to figure out if he did that, or he called in from a browser and let the browser expire.
How about that?
There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah, I got you back.
Yeah, my phone, lovely. I have to remember to keep it open. So here's an example of what happened just a few years ago. My daughter,
if you don't mind.
And what's that?
I was just saying quickly, if you don't mind, just because I got to wrap up. Yeah.
So I kept thinking my daughter, what if she decides that she's not a girl or she's gay or whatever? I had to practice my interaction with her before she decided to tell me that she doesn't know what she is. And as soon as she came up with that, I'm like, crap, I'm not ready. I had to walk away, gather myself, come back and say, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I knew that because of my Mormonism.
Yeah.
And it was such a struggle. But then when you're in the religion, you don't know. You don't know those things are there beating on you. You have no idea. You have to get out and then look back and go, holy crap.
That's a good point too, Jay, because there's also probably things that you don't even realize would be a problem until they show up. Like I don't have a daughter yet, so I don't know how I'm going to react in the moment, when my daughter gets to the age that she wants to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a non-binary pal. But I don't know how I'm going to feel. If it's a boyfriend, I have a feeling I'm going to hate it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the exact things that, as a man, I just so don't trust us. But it's one of those things where you don't even know what stuff you're still holding on to until a reason for that thing to surface comes up. It's tough, and sometimes it resurges. Sometimes you're talking to a friend and they talk about how many people they slept with in the last couple of weeks, and you have that initial reaction of like, the fuck? Like and then you realize like, oh, right, this is still left over. And by the way, I'm also reacting out of jealousy, but it's been a dry year. But it's, you don't know when those things are going to rear their ugly heads back up. And as long as you're taking the moment to go, I can tell I'm wrong here and I need to not make that anybody else's problem and go address this internally and take care of it, I think you're doing as good as anybody can expect of you. Jay, we've lost you again. That's all right. I think we did get through it. I'll give you a second to see if you can pop back in. But if not, we will just jump to the next call because I do need to get back to work.
I probably jumped back in, but
there we go.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, though.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
Appreciate it. Let's see. Thank you for more donations. We've got $5 from Andrew, $5 anonymous, $100 anonymous dollars. Tremendous. You know, it is funny. I don't think I'm that person. Like, okay, let me think. This is a character flaw I'm about to describe to everybody, just so you know. If I was on a stream on which I was donating, and I was donating something like $100, I think I would want the ego boost of people saying, Jimmy, thank you for $100. What I'm saying is those of you who are donating really any amount anonymously, not asking for the credit, are probably better people than me. I actually think that, again, this is a character flaw and I'm fully acknowledging it. I think some level of recognition of it makes me, and by the way, this isn't to say that I think anyone who didn't donate anonymously, I think a lot of people are just donating and they're not thinking about whether they want to be anonymous or not. I'm saying I'm impressed by the people who are donating anonymously because I'm like kind of an asshole in that way. If I was donating, this doesn't mean most of my donations and even contributions in general, the things I do that I consider an extension of humanitarian stuff, I don't do for credit. In fact, but I'm just saying in a specific instance of being on a stream where we're raising money and somebody's reading out like thank yous, I'd probably leave my name on it because I'm an egotistical little dick. I would want people to be like, wow, Jimmy, thank you. Here's your moment. And I'm very impressed by people who don't feel that way. Okay, anyway, continuing on after continuing to reveal what a piece of shit I am. Thank you so much for the anonymous $100 and 100 or 20 euros, 50 Canadian, $5, all anonymous, all very impressive because you're all easily better than me. It's not hard to be better than me. I don't set the bar too high. Thank you, Theo Webb. Thank you, Skeptalk for $5. And Theo Webb, the only reason I didn't say the amount you donated is I don't know what that currency is. CHF, like Chinese francs? That's not a thing, right? Oh, but maybe Czech francs? CHF currency is Swiss francs. Ah, there's no S in CHF. How was I supposed to know that? Thank you so much. Xenon, thank you very much for $5. As Draco, perhaps the as we spoke to earlier, $50. And a 500, Jesus Christ. This is the one I can't get. $500 is still not an insignificant amount of money to me. Ever, at any point. Earlier I mentioned there are times where I can pull off donating $500 easier than others. But $500 is a lot. Like, that's not an insignificant amount of money. And the fact that somebody donated $500 anonymously is crazy to me because I couldn't do it. And I know in my head, it's because I'm an asshole. Like, even just now, I feel like the closest I could do is do it and then tell some people I did it. Yeah, I donated anonymously, but I sent a 500. But I sent 500. Oh, wow. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. Oh my God. By the way, Ray, you deserve this. It looks like, was it Ray said he would donate 1,000 if we got to 5,000. Did that mean we got to 5,000? Let me go have a look. Ray Lawler, no shame in you getting the credit here. I don't want anybody to say, well, why didn't you send it anonymous? Also because Ray said they would do it. And this is the confirmation they did it. Ray Lawler for sending $1,000. I want to cry a little. I really do. I'm legitimately like, this stream so far is beyond my expectations. For the night before, and another anonymous $20, like, fucking thank you all so much for y'all are donating to a stream by which I have been an asshole, and I've told you about how much of an asshole I am. Like, I I have sort of been exposing myself a little bit on this stream, and that hasn't stopped a single one of you. If anything, I was just waiting to get a text from like one of the organizers of the charity be like, "Hey, we'd like you to make it clear that we don't endorse the things you're saying right now." Which, by the way, nothing I say tonight is officially endorsed by RFR. Obviously, we are working together and making this fundraiser happen. But to say I am chuffed as all hell would be a very British way to express, but still not near strong enough to express how I feel right now. Genuinely emotional and impressed. Ecstatic, beaming. My goodness. Yeah, we are fucking killing it right now. It looks like we have hit. If we could hit before we leave, because I need to go. Right, I have work to get done before tomorrow. I have another call. I'm not going to leave this second. I have work to get done before the stream tomorrow. And even tonight, we've been going for 2 hours. Is it 2 hours so far? Like, I don't want to take out the novelty of the fact that we're doing such a long stream tomorrow by doing such a long stream tonight. But if we could pass that $5,000 mark tonight, that would make it amazing. Irk, thank you for the $5. I'm sorry I didn't show up. But I saw your thing there saying you sent the 5 in. Because it looks like right now, I did find a place where I can see the exact dollar amount that we're at. However, it's not, I still can't see it broken down by donation. So I'm just looking in the live chat as they're coming through. We are currently at $4,616.69. That is, let me see if I can do this math very quickly. $383.31 short. Is that correct? Did I nail it? $383.31 short of $5,000. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. Am I still good at math? It's been a while. Look, I'm not saying that that's that impressive quickly in my head doing 5,000 minus $4,616.69. I'm saying it's impressive for me. Why the fuck would I have to do math like that very often? I'm a skeptic, not a math boy. Thank you so much, Kim, for the $5. Thank you, Jamie, for the $20. I'm going to take another call, but again, yeah, if we can get that roughly $400, and we would love lots and lots. I cannot stress this enough. Small donations are super appreciated. If for some reason it makes you feel weird, you can do it anonymously. If it doesn't make you feel weird, don't do it anonymously. Small donations, so incredibly valued. Okay. The part of doing this tonight too is, as I've mentioned, I've had a lot of health issues, and I'm worried about right now. It's kind of going up and down. If I have to take a little bit of a back seat and let Arden drive more tomorrow, I'll feel much less guilty if we did $5,000 tonight. I just feel way less guilty if that happened. I don't know. I'm not saying donate just so I feel like a less of a guilty boy if I'm a sick boy, but well, could you? Oh my goodness gracious. I love you people. You're all fucking awesome. All right. Leonardo, coolest fucking name. How dare you have a name so cool? Leonardo from Oregon, you are on the line with Jimmy Snow.
Hey Jimmy, good to talk to you.
It's good to talk to you.
Well, I was calling you because I listen to a lot of atheist shows and atheist debate, and I always listen to secular humanism just destroying, theists on the subject of morality. And my girlfriend hears this all the time, and every time the term secular humanism comes up, she gets this look on her face like she just smelled a fart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked her, what is this about? And she's basically says that, there's 8 billion people out there, and within our lifetime, we've lost 70% of biodiversity or other life on this planet.
Yeah.
So she's like, if people were animist, like in the Americas prior to the European colonization. You could drink the water out of rivers, you could breathe the air. We still had old growth forests and rainforests and all kinds of stuff. And she's like, that's much more moral. And I'm like, dude, I don't have a good argument for that. What are your thoughts?
I want to ask first, Leo, does the girlfriend exist, or are you trying to force me into having a debate with a vegan and you're the vegan?
No, I'm not a vegan.
Okay.
But I do try to promote biodiversity on my land.
Humanism is not anti-biodiversity. Humanism is not anti-treating animals with kindness. There is a recognition, and you are capable of being a meat eater without that being inconsistent with humanism. Generally, you are going to find that humanists have a general reduce harm, reduce suffering level of existence on top of their prioritizing. I will say my interpretation of humanism can be speciesist. I don't actually know how to say it out loud. It's just a stupid term I see vegans use in message boards. But I would say that I perceive a human life as almost any human life as more valuable than any non-human life. And I've demonstrated this by saying, if Ben Shapiro and my dog were drowning in a pool, despite the fact that I resent Ben Shapiro, I believe it would be the humanist thing, if I could only save one, to save Ben over the dog. That does not mean I would do that, because I'm not perfect, right? So I am capable of mistakes, and it is possible I jump in and I save my dog, who I love tremendously, because of my inability to be a perfect humanist. But there's not anything... What about... I think it's easy to list off reasons why humanism is great, right? So what is it about... what was the thing your girlfriend was defending? Was it animism?
Animism, just, believing that we humans are part of everything. And I guess if you, she brings up the concept of an ecosystem. Humans cannot survive alone, so you need to have rich biodiversity. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I guess. Except what you just said
is also in humanism. If we can't survive alone and we need a rich ecosystem, then that specific overlap definitely exists in both. So what is exclusive to animism that humanism lacks? Like, what is a specific thing we as humanists can't accomplish with animism? And keeping in mind, a person who says that they would prefer animism if there is that exclusivity is suggesting that the core idea of humanism, which is that you build a society in a way that you are most advantaged no matter what member of that society you are. And so when we're talking about human society, whether you are of any race, you are born into any religion, you have any orientation, that you build a society which benefits everybody as much as possible, so that whoever you join that society as, you are maximally advantaged. Now, we fail as a species to actually meet that standard, but that's the goal, right? So what in animism would be an exclusive thing that is better about it, that humanism lacks?
I guess if, from the animist point of view, you would want to build a world or a society or the environment around you so that you're not so that you could be any organism, not any person. So you want to, I guess, promote.
Right. And so this is something that you and your girlfriend are unaware, or your girlfriend at least, how much gratitude she has that isn't the case. Because if we benefit any organism equally, then humankind must be genocided. We must end human. Yes, of course. We are to the absolute detriment of other species. If we do not if you for a moment decide your life is not worth, literally, your life isn't worth more, they're not just not only worth more than other species, but not even that you will prioritize your own life over, in many cases, other human lives. The only solution would be to end your own life. because we
Well,
are
what
a
about-
net negative. Humanity is the worst thing that happened to every other organism on this planet. As you mentioned, how much it's gone extinct because of us. We are terrible for the world.
But I think it might not be that humanity is terrible for the world, but our culture is terrible for the world, because if you look at humans over the last 250,000 years, it's only more or less since the agricultural revolution that we kind of changed our culture to decide we will decide who lives and who dies.
Leonardo, what percentage of our culture believes that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old?
Oh,
It's large.
Pretty high. Okay.
Yeah, especially if you go with the whole world, it's large. In which phrase do I want to use it? They recently surveyed, I think it was 200 countries, and of them, 80% of them expressed misogynistic views, and it was like 50% of them expressed comfort with the concept of men. I just heard about this on an interview with Obama and Armanpour, that men could beat their wives. So if we're saying if we just change culture, everything would be even better, great. We can't, and it won't happen, and it certainly won't happen in the amount of time that the actual, again, if human life is not more valuable than any other organism, and when I say any other organism, I assume you also mean any, not just this falsely comforting concept of sentient life when we have an ill definition of sentience and an ill ability to even demonstrate significant sentience or a lack of sentience amongst the creatures that we think don't have it.
Michael definitely prefers plants over people.
That would be an absurd position to take. The idea of things which don't have, apparently, unless we can prove it, conscious experience, prioritizing conscious experience, not even at the level of organism. So if there was a way to have a conscious experience as not an organism over anything else, when by your mere existence you are prioritizing your conscious experience and acting as though that is the superior way, again, there's no way to defend that where humans stay alive. I don't get how one could defend that with humans staying alive. Clearly, by our own existence, we prioritize human life. By our own use of electricity, there is no way to consume power in this world without harming another species. Does your girlfriend do nothing with electricity that isn't absolutely necessary? Does she have a smartphone?
Of course he does.
So it's a thing of like this ideal that, of course, if we could enter everything into the matrix and now everything gets to exist and we do it in a way that nothing ever harms anything, of course we would do that. But we can't do that. This isn't magic fairyland. And the order in which you prioritize is yourself, unless you have specific loved ones. Now, some people prioritize themselves over like their children. Some people think they prioritize themselves over other people because they sometimes make sacrifice. But if we're talking about as a whole concept, whether or not you are prioritizing your whole self, some sacrifice doesn't mean your entire self is prioritized above. But some people do experience things like altruism and stuff. And when I have kids, which I think is on, I don't know, I'm more recently on the not having kids thing again. I was recently sort of wanting to, and then just seeing how terrible the world is this year, I'm just like, how could I do that to somebody? But adoption is almost certainly in my future. When I have kids, I imagine I will prioritize them over myself. But other than that, the concept of you prioritize yourself first, you try to sacrifice and help others, but at the end of the day, we are so ignoring the suffering of so much just for our own mental health, just to prioritize, I should just be more comfortable. And the idea that, I don't know, animism is an unachievable goal. It just sounds silly to me.
But you know what we do, at least just on our little piece of land? We live in Portland and we have a 1/4 acre.
Yeah.
But on our piece of land, we try to promote as much biodiversity as possible.
Hell yeah.
And we don't have invasive species.
Right.
We don't have a lawn.
Wait, Leonardo. In an animist perspective, why would an invasive species be more valued higher than another?
Because that will lead to basically that one species dominating all the land.
So you would limit and kill a species which is detrimental to other species. You would cause that harm to that species on the behalf of the other species, right?
Correct.
And if that's consistent with animism, how do you keep humanity alive? How do you not cull all of humanity for the damage it has done in the prioritization? We will kill more fish tomorrow than the entire United States. I think isn't it like 1 billion fish a day or something crazy like that? I don't remember what it is, but just pretend these numbers add up. It won't be far from the entire population of the United States turned into fish will be killed tomorrow. It's some number like that. It's going to be. We are clearly prioritizing humans over, and we will push species to extinction and all of that stuff. Humankind is like, if you've ever seen those things where it's like chickens, it's 4 times the amount of feed to get 4 pounds of feed to get 1 pound of chicken. Fish, it's like 1 to 1. I think there's some animal in the middle. Maybe it is chicken that's 2 to 1. But like cows and livestock, and this is why livestock are bad because of the emissions, because a livestock per pound of beef. For per pound of beef, you need like 40 pounds of feed, and that contributes to emissions as well as all this stuff. Like humans, it's way beyond all of that. It's like, how many thousands of pounds are we consuming in our lifetime of stuff per pound of us? It's horrendous. And so, again, I'm saying there's no way to convince me that anybody actually has a non-speciesist philosophy if they are staying alive. Unless they're maybe actively working toward killing all humans. Bender the robot is the only animist I know of. Go ahead.
But have you ever heard the word permaculture?
I'm sure I have, but you're welcome to summarize it.
Oh, if you asked 100 different permaculture lists that same question, they would all give you different answers, but they all want to promote abundance, at least on their land, and the maximum amount of biodiversity, because that really limits, like if you have a monocrop, let's say, and you get a disease or a pest, you're at really high risk. But if you have the maximum amount of biodiversity and that same pest or disease comes in, you might only lose, one species of tree. But if you have 50 different types of trees, you're still good.
Leonardo, I'm still suspicious that the girlfriend, I think she exists, but I think, was this a mechanic to try and bypass into is this really your debate or your girlfriend's?
Oh, I go to secular humanist groups.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I
like atheist shows. I just don't really have an argument for this because I'm not really not sure what secular humanist values are when it comes to biodiversity.
I think I've given you a few points to stick out, but I will say this too. And this is less about whether or not secular humanism is better than animism versus whether or not everybody has a human forward thing. Leonardo, you might disagree with this. And my suspicion would be, even if you disagree, that would be on principle because you don't want to believe this about yourself, nor would your girlfriend. I have a feeling that if you did not get a sense of gratification, a sense of emotional contentness, happiness, pleasantness over doing what you are doing with this biodiversity island thing, that you wouldn't do it. If it didn't make you feel good, if it didn't convict you that this is right, you wouldn't do it, which is still a human first prioritizing thing. If it was making you miserable, you two are out there doing it every day anyway, just going, this makes me miserable, but this is the best thing we can do for the world. And by the way, I don't think it's literally the best thing you do for the world, but it sounds like a good thing. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm sure there are ways you could suffer more and do more good.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I like it.
It's all human first. It's all us first, baby, because that's all we got. We barely can be sure we exist if we want to get to a solipsistic thing. And at the end of the day, I'm terrified at wasting what little time of consciousness I'm going to get in this universe. So make the best of it, but do the best you can to make other experiencing entities, their individual experiences of consciousness in their short time, try and do your thing to make their lives a little bit better. And if that's community plant stuff and a maximum biodiversity, by the way, what you're describing just sounds cool. It sounds like the kind of thing I'd like to see in person, I'd seek out places like that just to go and see like basically a zoo of plants. That's awesome. And you should feel awesome about it.
Great.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Sweet. All right. Anything else?
There's a movie that came out recently called The Biggest Little Farm, and that's pretty much the approach that they take.
That's the concept.
And it's gorgeous.
Fuck yeah. Leo, I like it.
All right, man.
Hell yeah. Have a good one, Leo.
Likewise.
Leonardo.
Yes.
Such a cool
Thank you,
name.
Jimmy.
See ya. I'm sorry. I should have said it while still on. I have that suspicion, especially when it's something so close to veganism, that it's like, hey, I know you all like don't really want to keep doing this, because then everybody just comes in and says, that's a bad argument, and you should debate Cosmic Skeptic. Those are the two most common replies to that issue, where it's literally like, so you don't actually know why it's a bad argument. You just are pretty sure that either during the debate or during a post-debate review, you'll be able to come to the conclusion that you were right and they were wrong. And this is why I've mentioned the other day, debates aren't won on correctness, period. A debate is not a measure of correctness. It wouldn't even matter if they did. In fact, why don't I just debate any schmuck on veganism? And as long as I win, that means I'm correct. At best, you're saying, I think this person is it won't be Cosmic Skeptic anymore, but in the past it was. I think this person would be better than you at it, and therefore I would have an easier time telling people you're wrong. Thank you. I can only go so far up the list, but I want to say thank you to Kentucky Atheist, Robin, Chris, several anonymous donors, Rebecca, Gail. Gail's here. Hi, Gail. Donates an extra $100. Tremendous. Be still my beating heart. And Robin again. Thank you. Some more anonymous. Thank you again, Dustin. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Perch Dragon. Thank you. Another from Robin. Robin again. I love the lots of little donations, and I told you all why. I'm such a socialist dick. It's truly like, again, this is an asshole move, but it's like a cathartic asshole move. I'm not sure that this was like that thing we were talking about, robbing a super bank. If you knew you could get away with like a billionaire's bank, are you actually doing harm? And one of my creator friends who I brought it up with after, because we didn't get into it, but was like, I would argue that it's doing harm to not rob the bank in that scenario. When it's Google, when it's Alphabet, little ways to like fuck them over by doing lots of small donations. So, because they're covering 100% of the fees. So when you send $2, if you send $100, the people processing it, they always have like a couple cents flat fee plus a percentage. And so the percentage is the same, but those little flat fees add up. And I think it's so fucking funny to do. So if you send $100, and by the way, if you don't want to send it in a $52 ones, that's totally fine. Don't. Just do it and whatever. But I find it really funny when people do this, when they know about that flat fee and they're like, I can make Google pay more for me to pay to charity. That's a big brain move. That's some hot socialism. It's not literally socialism, but that's the part of me that feels motivated to do it. It's so douchey, but it's funny. Alan, $20. It's like hard to be like, oh no, did they lose a couple $100 extra? Did Google lose a couple $100 extra total in the whole thing? Where it's like, y'all, oh my God. Anyway, sorry. Alan McIntyre, thank you so much. Another anonymous donate. Wow. Tonight has just been bananas. Bananas. Today is bananas. Bananas. In just a couple of hours, 2.5 hours, we have broken the $5,000 mark. We're at $5,035.87. 100% of that is going to RFR. And so I cannot thank you all enough. Thank you so much for contributing, for helping, for showing that like fucking they think we have no purpose, right? Like that's part of the deal, the thing. Look at the goal. What do you mean look at the goal? I just looked at is there a special animation I need to see? I'm trying to figure out what you're all trying to tell me. Let me go to the watch page. That's part of the I don't want to hear me again. Look at the goal. Shut up. Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, we've got $5,000 of 25,000 raised. I thought I was going to see like some wild thing, like an animation or something. Yeah, past $5,000, and I'm blown away. It's so I get so fucking mad. This is the rant I was about to go on before I was being chastised by I Got Cookies. I get so fucking annoyed at this whole, what's your purpose? What are your morals? What are your blah, blah, blah? As though when we lose religion, it's literally like, you know what I don't care about anymore? Other people's experiences. And it also speaks to the way a lot of these people think they would be. Like, it speaks to their shitty character, that they think that the amount that they are selfish would become higher if they left religion. And I'm sitting here going, I've gone through the trauma of being in an abusive religion, in abusive relationships, familial and otherwise, with people from that religion, in the traumatic experience of losing my religion. And while, yes, I sit here and I probably hold some resentments over that, though maybe not necessarily to individuals anymore, but just resentments of circumstances anymore. Because again, individual resentments are actually hard to even make me feel beyond. Like, it's easier to make me resent a public figure than an individual I actually know, because I do feel that level of empathy of there, but for the grace of circumstance go I, whereas public figures are all caricatures. We're all cartoons. I'm including myself in that. We're all fucking, who the fuck is this guy? If you're trying to follow along with what point I'm trying to make, good luck. The grander point that I am trying to make, it's so fucking annoying to hear that we wouldn't have purpose, or when they're like, well, did you know religious people give more to charity? And then you go, right, which charities? Which charities do they give? Which charities do they give more to? Are you including contributions to their religion, which counts as a charitable deduction? Is that what you're counting? Yeah. Okay, great. You gave more money to pedophile protection brigades. Fuck yeah. Mormon Church. Fuck yeah, Catholics. You did it. More to charity. And now the Mormon Church has a multi-$100 slush fund. Does it qualify as a slush fund? What is a slush fund? But their rainy day fund, billions of dollars that they're hoarding, but won't open, heating centers in the winter and cooling centers in the summer for homeless people, won't administer to the poor, not unless they think they see a path toward them eventually having a good 10%. I just, to be fucking virtue signaled to by religious people, when it's literally our consideration isn't, am I going to get a reward in heaven? Am I going to get a punishment if I don't do this? We donate to charity because in this scenario, into RFR, and we contribute time, we volunteer, because all we're thinking about is, I had a bad time leaving my religion. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. I had a bad fucking time leaving mine, and I will do a lot to make sure that your experience to leave religion isn't as bad as mine, if I can. And that's it. That's the only reason why I think you should donate. You're not going to get a reward, right? I might say your name if I notice it in time, but God's not waiting for you. You're not going to heaven if you donate. You're not going to hell if you don't. I'm not going to try to bribe you, and I'm not going to try to scare you. I'm going to tell you that if you give money, somebody's experience will suck less going through something that probably sucked more for you. Or if you can just conceive of it. That's it. That's my whole fucking sales pitch. It's not a bribe and it's not a threat. This fucking sucks. And a lot of people go through it, and it doesn't have to be as bad, but it's going to suck some. I can't promise that I wish I could be a fucking preacher. You give that $5 right now. You give that $5 and you will take this off somebody's plate. The blessings will be too high, and you won't be able to receive the blessings. No matter which hole you present to me, you won't have room for all my blessings I'm going to put in you. It's going to just improve a person's ability to recover from religion. It's going to put them on a path. And it's so funny that phrase has been co-opted, and fucking the idea of being on a path is kind of co-opted from religion. But if you actually have worked in any sort of mental health services, especially if or not even worked with, how many people, especially coming from religion here, and this is rhetorical, you don't have to answer, but how many of us have had suicidality or suicide ideation and sought help? What is the thing they do first? Calm you down, so second. And then, if they can, they make you form a plan and write it down. They literally put you on a path. And it comes in a few forms. Like, first, let's get your crisis plan. The next time you're feeling this way, who can you talk to about this? Let's talk about people in your life. Let's talk about this. It's literally about path making and plan making. That is the fucking road to recovery. Because if you don't know which direction to take your first fucking step, you are fucked. And you just have to figure it out as you go. And that's what I had to do. And I was fucked. And I don't want anyone else to go through it. And I know people are right now. I know some of you watching are right now going through as shitty or a shittier experience with your family at home, as I went through, with your community, with your feeling shunned, feeling pushed away. It doesn't have to be as bad for everyone. It's going to continue to suck. And this resource fucking matters. So again, I'm not going to promise you heaven. I'm not going to promise you a reward. I'm not going to offer you hell. I'm not going to threaten you. If it sucked for you and you've got a couple dollars and you can literally go, this is worth it to me for somebody else's experience to suck a little less, for somebody else to get a path that I would have valued so much, for there to be a call center out there where somebody can call or live chat by text and say, this is terrible. I'm losing everything. What do I do? And just introduce somebody to that beginning of a path. Introduce somebody to a therapist who's actually specialized and vetted to handle a religious recovery. That's my whole fucking pitch. I wish I could do the preacher way, because we'd probably be at $100,000 right now. Those fucking predators. But because I can't, I'll do this with you. Those are my little final feelings. Please be at the thing tomorrow. Your presence is valuable, as well as obviously your donations, but presence, being at the stream. The link's in the description. Please, please, please be there. Please share the fuck out of it. Tell people to come to it. It's going to be a fun day. There's no real plan, just except for what people will be on. We'll have fun. We'll do whatever. We'll get donations. We will make people's lives better. You'll get to see people from this network and outside of our network that are so dope, so fun to be around, so fun to listen to, so fun to chat. So in many cases, so wise. Then there's me. There's the wise ones, and then there's me. Tomorrow is going to be fun. Please help us share it out as much as possible. If you have access to a creator, telling them to share it out on their YouTube community page. What is YouTube community? Tab. Page. I said page, people. I'm at the end of my rope. I'm burning the candle at both ends, I think is a saying. Thank you again. Another donation from Anonymous. Some more Anonymous. Maurice coming in. More Anonymous. Iconify, thank you so much. $100, very, very generous. Thank you to everybody who is very, very generous with your small donations. Again, small donations matter. Grassroots efforts are more powerful. Lots and lots of small donations are incredible. Thank you to everybody who donated at any level. Anybody who sacrificed, whether it was a silly sacrifice, like, yeah, I'm going to not have Starbucks as much this week, or if it was a bigger sacrifice, again, don't send us your last dollar. Don't send us your survival dollars. But after that, for sure, I am very much looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Yeah, this was a great stream, great time, and I can't believe what are we at? We're ending at 5,000. Let me get the exact number. Man, I gotta stay better organized here. How did I lose this page I had? Here it is. We are ending tonight at $5,202.87. Tremendous. Cannot thank you all enough. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. This has been Cuz I Wanna. I've been Jimmy Snow, and this window is going to work in a funky way. Let's try it. Let's see if we can. Hang on, let me reset it. Oh, like that. And then do one of these and then go. There should be somebody here. There's nobody here. Hey, look, everybody. It's my charm. Because I don't have any. All right, get out of here. Well, that was supposed to fade, but sorry.